The second half of this video is me breaking down to a bunch of my personal one-on-one mentorship students who I'm helping them scale their coaching business online, and I'm systemizing exactly what you need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to actually convert through Instagram and through YouTube. So every single week and every single day, you're just recycling all these new lenses within your core concepts through the same exact pillars, and it makes your content seem like it's never, ever, ever the same, and it's always interesting, and you always have new ideas. But the beginning of this video, what you're about to watch, is me building this system and breaking down the thought process behind it with one of my best clients. We're taking him from where he's at that $50,000 a month mark, and we're scaling him to $100,000 a month. And you're gonna be able to see all of the little tweaks and changes that we're making right now when you see me sit down next to him and do this live coaching session. But you also can go and you can watch how we built his brand in the beginning. He came to me with 1,900 followers, no personal brand, had no idea how to sell fitness coaching. He wanted to do it, but you'll even hear him say he thought that, online fitness coaches were broke.
I've been following John Mark for several months now. I've been working with him for like 4 months. Literally changed my life.
This guy just hit 10,000 followers on Instagram. 70 days in the program, he's made about $56,000. There might be some of you watching this right now who you have more followers than that, and you're not even making a fourth of that money. That's a shame. It's because he spent all his time taking care of the leads, nurturing the leads, learning about them. So you need to stop looking at this Instagram online money business the way that you have been, but you need to start thinking like a coach. Treat your business like a coach. Do not treat your business like you're an influencer. Your goal is not to go as viral as possible, relate to as many people as possible. You look like every other fitness coach, guru person on the internet. Speak to specific problems. I spend all of my time learning about my audience. I still put out reels that might bring me new followers, but coherently, as I'm working on nurturing, which nurturing is what makes you the money, the new people that come in instantly are into the cycle of being nurtured, instantly learning who I am. That is what makes you money when it comes to a coaching business. I don't care if you're a fitness coach. I don't care if you're a personal development coach, a mindset coach, a skinny fat coach. It doesn't matter what you are. This is how you run your business online if you want to print money.
Testimonials speak for themselves, result after result after result. The one thing I always tell my friends, if you look at John Mark's page, there's one thing you know for sure, and that's he's not afraid of the work. The man's always working, he's not on vacation. He's always down to work, he's always there for you. That's why he gets the results and the testimonials that he does, because he's not afraid of the work.
Online coaching has completely changed my life. I'm in Mykonos with some of my team, my friends, the people that I love. I'm the first person in my family that's been able to travel to Europe. And 4 years ago when I started documenting my journey from the beginning on YouTube, before I'd made any money as a fitness coach, and when I literally had no idea you could even sell digital products online, this was something that I wanted, but I had a really, really hard time seeing it as a vision because I really just didn't know what steps I needed to take in order to get there. And in this video, I want to walk you through everything that I've done to be able to create an organic content system that converts better than paid ads. And the reason why this is so important to me is because I even have videos of myself back in the day thinking when I had 1,000 followers that I needed to create a website and run ads from the beginning. And even, I see people now that, even the guys that have made $40,000 or $50,000 a month, and they think that their problem is ads, or they think that their problem is hiring. And quite frankly, if you're going to watch any more of this video, you need to make sure that you break the belief of thinking that $100K a month, $250K, $400,000 a month, any of those numbers of monthly revenue are going to be accomplished by you, hiring a better DM setter, or you finding some content system that allows AI to create your hooks so you can stop thinking on a daily basis. And you have to realize that every single thing within your coaching business first starts within the foundation of your content. That's how you learn more about your sales process. That's how you learn more about your product, messaging, core concepts, your ICP, your ideal client persona, all of these words that get thrown around the industry, people use them like they don't actually have any weight. And it leads to people like you being more confused. Even if you're talented, getting to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, you don't actually know the steps that you've taken to get there. And so you consume more content, you watch people that you want to be like, you search for videos like these, but what ends up happening is you find people that don't actually give you the solution. They just tell you what's wrong, and they frame what they're trying to sell you as the thing that you need. And you might be watching this video like, oh, isn't that what you're about to do here? And if you haven't seen any of my content, no, that's not what I'm about to do here. On Instagram, I go by Mr. Free Value, and there's a reason, and everyone that's watched my videos, they know exactly what they're about to get here. And you're excited. You've thrown your phone across the room, right? You're locked in on this video because you see however long, an hour, 2, 3 hours long, however long it is, you know you're about to get an insane amount of value. And what I've done is the second half of this video is me breaking down to a bunch of my personal one-on-one mentorship students who I'm helping them scale their coaching business online, and I'm systemizing exactly what you need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to actually convert through Instagram and through YouTube. But the beginning of this video, what you're about to watch, is me building this system and breaking down the thought process behind it with one of my best clients. And when I mean best, I don't mean he's made the most money. I've had plenty of clients who have made more money than him, right? Right now, we're taking him from where he's at that $50,000 a month mark, and we're scaling him to $100,000 a month. And you're going to be able to see all of the little tweaks and changes that we're making right now when you see me sit down next to him and do this live coaching session. But you also can go and you can watch how we built his brand in the beginning. He came to me with 1,900 followers, no personal brand, had no idea how to sell fitness coaching. He wanted to do it, but you'll even hear him say in this next video that you're about to watch that he thought that, online fitness coaches were broke, right? And we've completely broken that. Bennett has, 70,000 followers on Instagram now. He actually just left. He was here in Greece at a different villa that you're going to see. But what you have to understand is the reason why you think that ads are going to be a solution, the reason why you think that it's a DM setter, or hiring a new sales guy, or a new sales script, or having some, like AI DM setter or some content system, is because you have not been aware of the thing that actually creates every single piece of results when it comes to your coaching business, and that is you, your unique story, and your personal brand. Every single change that you ever need to make will start there. Am I saying that ads are useless? No. I run some retargeting ads, but most people, 99% of people who are going and trying to think that they need to run ads, or they need to make better creatives, or have an ad system, don't actually understand what the point of ads are. If you're running a coaching business, okay, most industries use ads in order to get new attention. The problem is you yourself as a brand are not like a physical product, okay? A physical product doesn't have a personality, and so in order to give it a brand, you give it a brand name, colors, and ICP, and people can latch onto that brand. But you as a person, you have unique skills, you have different emotions, you have opinions, you have behaviors, and all of those things make you who you are. Most coaches, though, aren't aware of any of those behaviors. They know what they like, they know that, they're in shape and they want to sell fitness coaching, or they want to sell some type of business coaching from a successful business that they have created, but they have no idea how other people view them, and that is the number one most important thing. I'm going to ask you a question, and you need to focus and pay a lot of attention when I ask this, okay? What is the biggest thing that most of you are trying to compete with on a day-to-day basis? What is it? It's the market within Instagram, which the mechanism behind that is what? The algorithm. Notice how I said compete. Almost every single person watching this video right now wakes up and competes with the algorithm. What do I need to post next in order to get more clients? Well, how can I get more views? What do I need to do? How do I need to structure my content in order that more people watch my stuff so that more people will buy my product? The thing is, someone watching your stuff and then them buying your stuff is a huge difference, and that's why we've created the profile funnel. And I personally am the founder of the info funnel. Now, the info funnel is the system that I've created that allowed me to make $120,000 a month at 19 years old before I had ever even run a single ad. I had 8,000 followers on Instagram. I was making $120,000 a month. I bought my dream car, a Lamborghini Urus at 19. I'm 22 now. It's been 3 years since then. I bought a bunch more cars, lived in Miami, did the stuff. Now I'm traveling. I have a house back in Georgia. But the number one lesson here that I'm trying to teach you is I'm trying to show you that there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all solution. Just because you watch content and it looks like it's the solution for you, if you haven't found where your personal brand is lacking and why people are not buying your coaching program on the back of that personal brand, you will continue to buy program after program after program, buy software, invest in another person, watch their YouTube, and it will continue to not work. Your gears will be turning, your tires will be spinning, and you'll never be able to identify what the actual problem is to get not to the current level of revenue that you're at, but to get to that real goal. Okay, you're at 50,000 a month, or you have a good month and maybe you hit 60 or 70. Repeat it over and over and over and over and over, month after month after month. I made $60,000 a month, 6 months in a row with 5,000 followers on Instagram. No ads, nothing like this, 18 years old. How did I do that? Because I understood the exact thing that makes the algorithm work. The algorithm is just based on behaviors. It's based on behaviors. If I were to ask you, me right now, if I look at my phone, okay, and I say, well, how many times have I picked up Instagram today? I can go in my screen time and I can see how many times, but I don't know. Do any of you know off the top of your head, how many times did you pick up your phone and look at Instagram? 10, 15, 20? I bet it's been way more than that. And if I take it another level and I ask you, every single time you opened the Instagram app on your phone, what was the intention? What was the purpose behind it? What were you trying to do? Would you be able to tell me? And no, I don't mean, oh, you were going on there to post a video, or you were going to answer a DM, or, you were going on Instagram to run your business. I mean, every single time you picked up your phone, I bet there was at least 5 or 10 times where you picked up your phone with no idea of why. You're just going there and you're just scrolling. Something happened. Maybe you got in an argument with somebody, or you felt inspired, right? Or you remembered that, you were looking for some type of video. Instagram is a system that is for serving. Because if I ask you the same question about YouTube, I say, hey, how many times have you gotten on YouTube today? It's probably a much less, we don't just scroll and just pick up YouTube just for no reason, right? And if I were to ask you what you got on YouTube for, you'd probably exactly know, oh, I was looking for a motivational podcast. Oh, I was going to watch, one of my favorite YouTubers' new videos. Oh, I was searching for something in order to help me, or I was going to listen to some music. Because YouTube is about packaging. Because people go on YouTube knowing what they're looking for, okay? And so we package our YouTube videos in a way that answers the question that the person has. Whereas on Instagram, when you scroll and you watch videos that your algorithm gives you, you're not looking for the video that the algorithm gives you, you're just responding to it, because what's happening is you're subconsciously looking for something. So the algorithm learns you. That's why it's called like a For You page. The algorithm learns what to put on your feed based on what you like, what you don't like, the way that you think, your behaviors, your opinions, your worldviews, how you act, and it actually knows you better than you know yourself. And so if you reverse engineer that as a creator who is trying to sell to those people, even me as a creator, I'm unaware most of the times of the behaviors that I scroll on Instagram with. You're making videos for those people and you don't even know your own behavior. How are you going to know the behavior of your clients? What do they like? What do they not like? What are their behaviors? What makes them scroll? What makes them not scroll? This is so much deeper than just hooks, or like watch time, or like your niche, or your theme of your video, or the industry that you're in. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with creating a system to where you stop competing with the algorithm and you start to work with the algorithm. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how I've reverse engineered how people run ads, and I've turned that into an organic content system so that you don't have to spend money. You don't have to put money into ads that barely makes you any money just to double down on the fact that you don't even know why the person responded to the ad or why it did well. And the best marketers in the world will know this. Hormozi's content team used to be organic, and it also used to be a paid team. Now they are one and the same, because the algorithm is moving towards not just you creating an ad that speaks to your ICP, but messaging and words and feelings and emotions that makes the type of person in your ICP relate. And so if I were to take, 3 hooks, 6 bodies, and 3 call to actions and create some ads to run a campaign off of, what I'd be doing is I'd be paying my dollars to Instagram for Instagram to take their data and their metrics that the algorithm has gathered, and then take my videos and from the money that I paid it, place it in front of the people that it thinks will respond to those videos best. The problem is, as soon as I use up that pocket of people, my ad spend goes up and my conversion goes down, my book a call rate goes down, and now I'm back stuck not knowing why people actually relate to me. Versus if you do this organically, you can get to $150, $200, $250,000 a month organically with a small following, because value matters so much more than views, as you're about to see, just like my client Bennett, right? How did we structure his growth so quickly? Because everything we did for the first few months were based around his skills, his own patterns of behavior, his thoughts, his morals, his personality, and making that the value before just his coaching program, because information is wildly available on social media. The one key factor that people are actually paying you for is your discernment of how to pick and choose what specifically they need to use for their specific situation. And once you've created an organic content system that teaches you all of that, sure, you're making 100, you're making 150, you're making 200K a month, then you can just pay money to retarget the winning organic videos that you've already created. You don't have to waste money, and it's so much more specific to the audience that you want, and you can repeat it over and over and over and over and over again. Because success cannot be systemized unless every behavior and pattern behind the success is understood. As we dive into this video, I want you to pay close attention. I want you to go follow Bennett on Instagram. I want you to see his journey, and I want you to watch over the next couple months as we take him to 100K a month. But literally pay deep attention into what I'm talking about in this video, and stay tuned to the end, because you're going to see exactly how to systemize it and use it for your business to scale to 6 figures a month after you see how we've created it in Bennett's video. Let's jump in. Instead of watching it on a Fathom recording from a Zoom video or a Google Meet, you guys can actually sit, watch the interaction live as if, you were on a coaching call directly with me. So we're gonna open up the laptop. Okay, so at first glance, when we pull up Bennett's Instagram, one of the first things that I've always talked about that's so valuable with a personal brand that everyone, needs to have is, as soon as I look at, his Instagram, it's not that the pictures are perfectly aesthetic. It's not that he's flexing Lambos and a crazy lifestyle. It's just so specifically in tune with your personality. That's what I've always said, and I've used this example all the time. I think this is one of the things that you've done so well. To be honest, it doesn't even really take much talent. I don't think it was something that you were just naturally born with, because if we look at your Instagram before, it was kind of like a
Same shit.
Yeah. It was just an Instagram where you just kind of post the things that you like. But I've always said the biggest things that people see is they see how in shape you are, right? They see you're always my favorite word to describe is the high on life, right? Yeah. And it's very, very easy to see the contrast of balance between you always, it doesn't look like you're, going through this stage of discipline where you're suffering all the time and you're like a monk. It seems very, very disciplined, but it seems like the glamorized version of discipline that everybody wants. And I think the number one question that arises is, wow, how is this guy staying in such great shape? He seems like he's great at everything. He's always smiling. He's always happy, which kind of creates that freedom. And it seems like you have the most simple but sophisticated life at the same time. It gives that feeling of organization. And the biggest thing is the balance. The balance that you have, where you can be partying, you can be traveling, you can be, going out and doing things that most people would think a degenerate would do, yet you're still locked in. You still seem like you care about your habits, you care about the way that you represent yourself, and you're always in great shape, and you're always, it seems like it's just so effortlessly portraying this. And that right there is one of the biggest things, because the first impression, it doesn't matter what else we talk about, when somebody comes to your page, if I look at his bio statement, I always say that your bio statement should be a really, really good representation of everything that you do generalized. Your bio statement should not be, I help busy professionals level up their physique without tracking macros so they can make more money. That's way too much. You're trying to be generally specific, and therefore you're speaking to no one. Their bio statement is just a very simple way to just look. And I look here and I'm like, well, this guy's in great shape. He's always traveling. And it says, level up your physique without tracking macros. I'm like, oh, freedom sounds pretty simple. It's a little bit controversial. Most people think you can't get in good shape without tracking macros. And so it's really good. You have your keyword, then how I stay shredded year round. It's very generalized. But what happens is we get really specific about what that all means within your content. And this is where we break down into what me and Bennett have been building over the past couple of days. And I do it every single one of my one-on-one clients, is building out their core concepts. So when you have this page, right, what would you say, not like perfectly tailored or anything, but just like first thing that comes to mind if, somebody interviewed you and said like, hey, like, what do you want your Instagram to represent? Like, what would you say, or what would you hope that people would feel like your Instagram represents?
Like living life to the fullest.
Okay. What are some things that they like, if you can just like stack on a couple things that you'd want people to take away? If they come on your page, they're like, wow, this guy's really living life to the fullest, and they go and they watch a couple of these videos. What do you feel like is like this message that you're trying to get across to the world, or like this, this main impact that you want to have on everybody that comes across your person?
I feel like the biggest thing is like, part of living your life to the fullest is actually seeing the potential in a lot of different areas. The main one being your physique. And for me, it's like my health is the foundation for everything else that I do. So if I don't have the discipline within my physique, I'm not going to have the discipline within my business, within my relationships, with traveling, going on trips, all these things. So I just try to portray the fact that, hey, I'm here to fucking max out life and have as much fun as possible. But at the root of all that is my health.
Yeah, 100%. So what do you think, you knowing that now and like everything you've seen, when you first joined my program, obviously like you paid a 19-year-old, thousands of dollars in the DMs back, when I was living in Miami, and you didn't even really know too much about the coaching space, and now you're, insanely, well-rounded, very well-built personal brand. What do you think were the biggest things that were keeping you from, because you look at it now, obviously hindsight's 2020, it looks so simple. What kept you from kind of like starting posting or like understanding this quicker when you immediately were like, oh, maybe I should start fitness coaching? Because if you look at this, it doesn't really seem, it's like, oh man, I just make posts like about my life and it's pretty easy. Yeah. What do you think were those big limiting beliefs? And what do you think when you first joined my program, when we were on that base level, were the first few breakthroughs that you had that we worked on today?
I think one of the things that was holding me back the most at first was just not actually documenting and sharing my life. Right. And especially my thoughts. Like I remember the first time you told me to like share my thoughts about a book that I was reading. And I remember recording the story and posting it, like just feeling so awkward.
Yeah.
And thinking about what everybody was going to think about me. I didn't really take a whole lot of pictures before I started working with you to like even post. If you look at my old Instagram, like I posted maybe once every couple months.
Yeah.
It was usually just when I was going on trips and whatnot. But I think like the biggest, there's two really big breakthroughs that happened when I first hopped on that call with you. And it was first making a video that was basically announcing what I'm going to start doing. Because it feels like there's this incongruency when it's like, I haven't really been posting at all. And then I'm going to start posting like I'm a fucking influencer, all of this like health stuff. And people that follow me, the 1,900 followers that I had at the time, are going to be like, actually, you know what? You were my 2,000 follower. I remember sending you the DM.
Yeah,
you were number 2. Yeah. The 2,000 followers I had, I just thought they'd be so confused and judgmental of like me trying to be this influencer. And there was no clarity around why I was doing all of it. So you had me make that video basically explaining my current situation.
Yeah.
The fact that's right there, actually.
Yeah.
The fact that I quit my job, like I knew that I wanted to pursue health, and that you were going to be seeing a lot more videos from me revolving around health and fitness. So that like gave me permission to start posting. And then the second thing was the 2,000 followers that I had, those were all friends and family. All right, those are all people that's who I was posting for.
Yeah.
And then you were like, at the end of the day, this is a business account.
Yeah.
You're not posting for your friends and family anymore. Like you're posting to make money. If you want to make like a fucking separate personal account where just your friends and family are,
Yeah.
sure. But this account, everything you do on here needs to be a business decision.
Yeah.
And those two like help me so much.
Yeah. And I think the biggest, I see people all the time, they'll tell me, and they'll try to make excuses, like if I'm having conversations in the DM or something like this, like I tell people all the time, like, yo, you, before we even like speak about like you joining or anything like this, like if you haven't made up in your mind, yo, I'm willing to post on my number one personal account, it's not because you can't have two accounts and be successful. It's the main problem is always, I'm worried about like what girls are gonna think, or I'm worried about what my friends are gonna think, or I'm worried about this. And the reason why it's so important to break that is because if you don't go through the development of learning not to give a fuck about what they say, or if you're not willing and like so focused on getting the goal that you're like, I'll do anything to achieve it, that you were like, I don't care what these people say, then you'll never be able to make those personalized videos. And I think the thing is like now, would you ever go make like a personal account for yourself, having what you have? No, so there's no point. So the only reason people do that is because they feel some type of insecurity of not wanting this to be their entire identity, not wanting to get made fun of. So sure, if you have, once you make a shit ton of money, no, you're not going to want to go make a personal account. You're going to want people to see who you are. But the only time that excuse comes up is if somebody hasn't gone through the development of being like, I'm willing to do anything for this. So that's why it's so mandatory. And that's why I remember telling you, I remember being like, bro, it's going to sit in the back of your head. Like, oh, what if people are going to be like, well, what am I randomly just posting and all this stuff? And you can even see you on camera when we watch this.
I realized it went back. So I recently quit my job and I wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on. So after graduating college, I followed the conventional route. I got a good job. I worked my ass off. I made really, really good money. Traveled around a ton, made lifelong memories. My parents were super proud of me. I was doing well financially.
This was the first time where, because I could tell you weren't trying to go viral. You weren't trying to like do something. You were simply like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's my life. Here's me. And it's funny because if you look at this, then you can just constantly see. We scroll up just a couple of more. Like this was when you were really in crazy shape. But we scroll up just a couple of more videos.
This is my go-to healthy dinner look.
All of a sudden it's like that energy, that confidence and everything is there. Whereas before it's so many people are just so like, they're so worried about what other people think. And it's like, as soon as you start changing yourself, as soon as you start being the coach that you think people are going to want you to be, as soon as you start trying to be like, oh, this is how I have to dress or act or talk in order for people to pay me money, you're no longer being yourself. If you don't think that you in the current moment are valuable enough with just how you operate authentically, then sure, start changing those things, but don't try and post a different version of yourself. Just document the change. Bro, you weren't even, if you check, like, when you got on your first call with me, bro, like, you didn't look like this. But if you would have been like, I see so many people being like, oh, I want to look like this first and then start, well, then you're back to the worst problem, which is everyone on social media seems like they're already in shape and they're already rich. If you take where you're at and you're like, hey, I'm going to get in shape, and you show the process, it's so much easier to relate to you. I mean, like, you did your first marathon, all of these things.
I didn't even launch my offer for the first like 2 months I was working with you. For
Right.
that exact point, we're like, dude, just show the process,
Right.
build up a bunch of goodwill,
Right.
and then we'll worry about that.
Right, and that's why, and then it made it so good because I remember like times you're like, man, it would just be like, I've had people being like, man, they're like, I want it right now, I want it right now, I want it right now. Even with my, some of my biggest clients like Mike Redor, it's like everyone wants to immediately like put in a system. Like I remember even on like one of the first calls being like, okay, like what am I selling? Like what's the program gonna be like? And it's like, dog, you haven't even gone through like the development enough to just start showing your life and understanding your life, right? And now this is like more of like an entry level problem for the people who are just starting out. But this is the thing that people don't understand. They start making themselves different. And the most talented people, they might make money, they might get to where they are, but you look at a lot of these guys' personal brands, even the guys that are making millions of dollars, and you realize they have created this false image of themselves, and eventually they wear out and they burn out, and they did create a solid foundation. And it's like, who would rather would you have rather made $10,000 within your first like 30 days, but not learned anything correctly, kind of gotten a little like embarrassed about who you were displaying yourself as, and then like not built up any goodwill? Or we have the 2 months of building, people are watching you they're watching you develop yourself, they're watching your brand grow, they're actually gaining this relationship with you. And as soon as we actually started talking about your program, it was like immediate conversions. Like we had some PIFs, then we put the VSL in there. We gained enough data for it to actually work. I think that this is the number one problem that people don't understand. Every single time, whether you're starting, whether you're going from 10 to 30K a month, 30 to 50, 50 to 100, you always have to analyze what are the current variables, what's the current environment like, and what do I need to do? People think that, all of a sudden, I'm not being able to close my offer for, enough money. I'm charging 3K and I want to charge 7K. They think, well, I need to go get a watch, or I need to dress nicer, or I need to get a Lamborghini, or I need to run ads and get in front of more people. It always starts at the top with you. It always starts at the top with you. If you're making 30K a month, you want to get to 50K a month, and you think you need a DM setter because you can't answer all of your DMs or you're not closing enough deals. The problem is not a DM setter. It's that you don't know which deals to prioritize in order to focus on the people that are going to pay you more money, or something is missing within your content to make your perception of somebody who people would pay that high ticket program. And that's why people go and they buy from coach after coach after coach after coach, and they're just looking for system. They're buying emotionally instead of logically, and then nothing ever happens. And yeah, I really appreciate the trust that you had to trust me and stick with it, do this so we could build the foundation that you've actually created.
Dude, it's all worked out obviously beautifully. And speaking about coaching authentically too, I've had guys come up to me a lot that are looking to get in the coaching space and ask me, how did you pick animal-based diet with the 3-day split, with not tracking your macros, with doing the running and the marathons, how did you pick that niche? And I'm like, I didn't, bro. That's just literally what I do. And I think so often I see other coaches that are looking to step up and build their personal brand, looking after what's working for other guys and trying to just copy that rather than doubling down on who the fuck they actually are. Right. That's why people really fuck with me. It's because I only share what I actually do and I'm passionate about.
Right. 100%. And that's the thing for me is it's if you watch when I was a fitness coach, making $60,000, $70,000 a month with, just a few thousand Instagram followers, if somebody else would have copied my 4 a.m. wake up, it's that wasn't the thing that made me successful. That was only valuable to me because sleeping in was something that I really loved to do. And I remember with the mindset that I was chasing, being man, if I want success and I say I want success, but I can't wake up a few hours earlier than everyone in the morning, I'm constantly telling myself that I don't really care. And so that was huge because that supported my entire mindset and the way that I think. People think they're oh, Bennett Luke is hybrid athlete, animal-based. Well, I need to do animal-based because it's working for him. It's I remember you asking me what should my stuff be? And I was brother, I could sit here and we can have a heart-to-heart conversation for 10 hours, or you can just tell me about what you do. I'll give you the process. You start documenting this. We look at what do people like. Because what I feel most people don't understand is they barely even have enough self-awareness to know what got them there. It's just oh yeah, I do a hybrid training program. But it's okay, so you're just telling me it's just any hybrid training program, you can just go look it up and you're going to get the same results as you. It's how everything comes together. There's people that train hybrid that don't eat animal-based. There's probably vegans that do this. So it's what are the differences? The way that you stack all these tiny little variables that seem unimportant are the things that create you and your offer.
Yeah, I remember you asking me about how I don't track my macros, and I never actually thought through the process. And so it forced me to actually think through, well, how am I actually going to coach people on how to do this? Because it was natural to me, but I didn't realize I was subconsciously actually following a process.
Right.
And then I just actually documented that process, came up with and now my clients follow it, it works, but I've never thought through that, which is I think a lot is what you're getting at. A lot of people don't actually think through why they do the things that they actually do.
100%. And that's kind of leads me to my next point of us creating these new concepts for this push that we're about to make to him getting to 6 figures a month. Is if you think about I call it the pros frame, okay? Think about any professional athlete, right? If you're watching, just because we're in Europe, let's say you're watching, a soccer player, or a Ronaldo or something like this. If you go and you ask him to the craziest highlights of his career. If you ask him, can you recall this memory and step by step say what happened? It's you can't. I remember when I would wrestle or I'd play football, or I'd run track, it was almost I would do the thing and my instinct, my skill would just take over, and it was just I was in flow state. And then I would think back how did I score that touchdown? How did I pin that guy? And it was just kind of a blur. I didn't remember because my instinct that my training had would take over, and I was just in that perfect flow state. And that's what almost every single man chases. We chase that flow state where we're fully present and we're not even conscious of our behavior. Thing is, one of my favorite quotes, and I think that this is one of the best relations to building a personal brand and creating a coaching business, is it says, until you make the unconscious or the subconscious become conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So you had gotten in shape, not tracking your macros, but it was unconscious. And so you had either through a state of fight or flight or a state of necessity or a state of just like talent and right circumstances, gotten to this point where you had just kind of like tested and kind of figured out, oh, I don't have to do this and I can still get in shape. But when I say, hey, make content about, your method, it's like, I don't track my macros. It's like, what else do you say? Because you're not even conscious of the steps in the process. So the most valuable things about us as human beings, why we speak, why we express the way that we do, why we talk the way that we do, why we get angry in certain situations, or why we're patient in certain situations, or why do we like the music that we like? A lot of these things people are so unaware of and they're so unconscious of. And what you have to understand, what Bennett has done such a good job of learning and understanding, is if you are building a personal brand to coach other people, people are subconsciously connecting with the things that you post about yourself. And so in order to create these pieces of content that relate to your audience and actually bring them into like relation and viewership with you, if you aren't even aware of the things that have systemized your own self, how are you going to be aware of how that impacts them? And this is why people feel like they're running out of content ideas. This is why people feel like they don't know what content to make, because they're constantly just consuming other people's stuff and just trying to create this image of them instead of actually being them. And so we created the Ultimate Athlete as your program. We created, the animal-based diet. And we looked at all these things and we systemized them, and you did all of the mental work to understand yourself and become aware of how these things actually helped you. But now we're doing that at the next level, because just doing what you've done, you can easily get to $50,000 a month. But in order to take it to the next level, we need to create these into core concepts. And this is actually what we're working on the last time we spoke, but I want to kind of do that together right here. So we have 3 different ones. And what I want you guys to understand is every single brand has to have core concepts. And most people don't understand these, because your thought process is the number one most important thing that you have. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished, what you're selling, how much it costs, what car you drive, how viral your videos are, how good the stuff you put out or how not good it is. People are buying at the foundation. They're buying your thought process. That's why it's called personal brand. And the second you stop being able to define and identify what the valuable parts of your thought process are that people are actually buying and attracted to, and the second you stop portraying that within the content that you're putting out, your entire business will become this, confused matrix of not knowing what to do and putting improper solutions in to solve the problem. And it becomes really, really stressful and really, really difficult. And so no one else talks about this. And I've created this basically from reverse engineering the Meta's paid ads algorithm. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but if you think about it on a baseline, if somebody has a brand and they want to, they want to build it, okay? They're going to film some creatives, a base structure that people might use. They might film 3 hooks, 6 bodies, and then 3 call to actions, okay? And then they're going to split test. And they're going to be like, okay, I have hook A with body A with CTA A. And then I'm going to have hook A with body B with CTA A. And then I'm going to have hook A with body B with CTA B. And you can create all of these different patterns that speak to different audiences based on the hook, based on the messaging. And Meta, what they are is they are a database. The algorithm is a database that's based on human behaviors, and it monitors every single day. Do you remember what your Instagram algorithm was like when you first downloaded Instagram?
Bro, I was in 8th grade.
Okay. Okay, so do you have you ever had TikTok anytime recently?
Yeah.
Okay, do you still have it? Do you watch it at all?
It's whatever I'm currently interested in, that's what it's spitting out.
Right.
It's constantly changing.
Right. So when you first download it, the other day I recreated a TikTok. Or actually no, it was an old one, and I went on it to see what happened, and because there was zero data for TikTok to gain from me, I was literally scrolling and I was like, what is this shit? What is it putting on my feed? the reason why the algorithm was like that, the reason why it's called a For You page is because they curate it for you, but they need your behavior in order to do that. So there was no, consumer behavior on the app, so they didn't really know what to give me. But if you look at your algorithm now, it's so funny. You can be texting your girlfriend about something. You can have a conversation. Your algorithm knows exactly what's going on in your life, what you're going to think is funny, what your humor is, and it knows how to feed that to you. It knows what to do to keep you on the platform. It knows how long you're going to scroll. It knows if it puts a girl shaking her ass on your profile, are you going to click not interested? Are you going to watch it and like it and send it to your boy? It knows all of these things, and it knows exactly what to do to get to you. The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. If I asked you this question yesterday, and if you're watching this, how many times have you picked up your phone to get on Instagram today? You probably don't know. I don't know off the top of my head how many times I've gotten on Instagram. And if you were then to ask me, well, every single time, can you tell me exactly what you were trying to do? Well, I mean, yeah, I was sending some DMs, and then once I went to go edit a reel, but there's so many more times I've picked up Instagram today where I'm just picking it up just because, right? Because people subconsciously scroll and they're looking for something, and the algorithm feeds the behaviors that they want. But most of us as human beings, we don't even know what we're looking for. We're just looking for that instinct to be fed, right? And so if you're running ads, Meta has all this data. You basically pay them money to put the audience who has the behaviors and the instincts and the thought process that would be best suited to buy your product in front of your videos based on the words that you say. Not necessarily based on how it stimulates their brain, but based on the words that you say. Whereas you can do the exact same thing organically, but most people don't understand. In an organic personal brand, you pay with your time, you pay with awareness, and you pay with understanding. So instead of you making videos that speak in a way that you can then pay Meta to go put that in front of the eyeballs that are going to engage based on their behavior with that specific video, you can understand your patterns, your behaviors, and start to understand how your audience views you, what their position is as they move through the timeline of your funnel, post videos and know, do they need more context? Do they need less context? What about me is valuable? I started realizing when I first posted my videos similar to you, I was like, oh, I'm just going to be like a bodybuilding coach because I like bodybuilding. I'd never competed in a show, any of these things, but all I did, I just like bodybuilding. But my number one reason why I was in the gym was personal development. I was waking up at 4 a.m, I was taking cold showers, I was doing all of these things, and I started to realize nobody gave a fuck about watching me squat 500 pounds at 19 years old, or have veins in my legs or anything like this, or look ripped. But as soon as I started talking about my mindset and my how the attack process that I had towards the world, people loved and related to this. And I go, oh, instead of being a selfish idiot and forgetting the fact that I'm creating my personal brand to impact people and to serve other people, and that I'll be compensated for the value that I provide to the marketplace, and that if I can help enough people get what they want, I can then get what I want. I thought about this, and I was like, oh, well, I want to be a bodybuilding coach because that's what I feel like I know the most about, but people are impacted by me talking about personal development. Let me start talking about this more. And I see so many people, and this is something that you wonderfully executed on. I see so many people, they have these false beliefs, and they have these shortcomings, and so then they see other people post, and they're like, well, I'm going to do that because they don't think that their authentic self is valuable, and they're not aware of it, and they wonder why it never ever works. You don't even listen to the data that Instagram gives you when you're posting videos. Oh, I posted videos, and this video did terribly. Nobody commented. Oh, I need to go buy somebody's fucking, ads programmer. I need to go buy fucking Brian Mark's hook library. The hook library is only valuable on top of messaging and core concepts and an offer and a unique approach on camera that people understand. You posting a viral hook on a video that people don't care about, or you have no authority to speak about, isn't going to do shit, right? And so what me and Bennett have done, and we're going to do live for you, is show how we can create this core concept system so that you can understand all of this data in a reverse engineered way that is free, that you don't have to pay Meta for, but it actually is the single greatest way to build a personal brand. Because the beautiful thing here is, once we've done this, we're basically finding all the winning creatives. This can get us to $100, $150, $250,000 a month organically. I have my first $120,000 a month with 8,000 followers on Instagram. No ads. I bought a Lamborghini at that point, right? No ads, because it's about understanding your messaging directly, and that's how I've created the system. But now it's time to do it for Bennett so we can really, really take it to the next level. So the way I break down these core concepts is we have an internal, we have an external, we have a system, okay? The internal one, and I'll explain what this means here in just a second. The internal one, this breaks down people's their psyche and their psychology, okay? It's how does the internal then affect the world around them externally? The external, it does how does the external affect you internally? And then the system is what are the actual steps that achieve that? Because if you look at online coaching, there's never a one size fits all. In Bennett's situation with fitness, if you go to the store and you order groceries and you don't track your macros and you eat them and you just know exactly what you need to eat, how confident are you that any other dude who's your age, who's your weight, okay, you don't know anything else about them, right? Just know that they want to get in shape. You don't know their genetics or any of their history or anything like this. How confident are you that that person can eat the exact same things and they're going to look just like you?
Same things and same quantities.
Same quantity, same, like they go and they just copy exactly what you do. All you know is they're your weight and they're your same age, and like they have the same goals as you, but you don't know anything else about them.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry at all.
Right. So if you make a video and you talk about all of you guys think that like your program, it's like, oh, here's what I did, let me give it to you. There is no one size fits all. You have to break down the most valuable thing is the thought process, okay? If you have this guy, he might be your same weight, but he might be, 5'4" and he's actually fat, right? And so it's like, if you go to the store and you're eating all of these carbs, well, you have goals, you want to get shredded, he also wants to start running and he wants to get shredded. Why can't he eat the same amount of carbs and fruit as you? Well, you probably can't run 10 miles. And so the program is going to be different. And so it's the thought process. The reason why you got that much fruit is because you're destroying your body so much that you need these simple sugars and these carbs to refuel you and, allow you to perform at your, capacity. Whereas if he eats those carbs, he's not breaking his body down in any way, shape, or form to the same amounts as you. So he eats those and now he's just overweight. Therefore, Bennett's program for himself specifically is useless for this guy. And so the thing that's valuable is, what is the thought process? Okay, well, I'm going to get fruit in the right quantity that's based on how much am I breaking my body down and how much, torture in actual, exercise is happening to me. So then you can look at him, you can look at the data, how much do you weigh, how much you're exercising, how much you're running. You can't even run 1 mile and you can't even train that hard and you need to be losing weight. Okay, well, we're actually gonna keep the fruit down to just 1 a week and it's gonna be after your hardest workout and your hardest run. Bang, same thought process applied differently in everyone else's life. And that's how we create these core concepts. So what I've done with these, and I'd love for you to, ask any questions that you want, is every single person has these core concepts. Mike Rethor, I have these core concepts. I make them the exact same way. If we look at Bennett's life, and this is what I do in every single one of my one-on-one coaching programs, none of you guys are going to be able to go and have a good overview of yourself and identify yourself to find these core concepts. You need someone who understands the system and can see you from above. But we look at Bennett's story the entire time, the removal ritual. Every single time he's had success, he's removed things in his life that have been holding him back, whether it be limiting beliefs, whether it be actions, whether it be, different steps or even people. And that's been the number one thing that's given him clarity in order to then move towards success. If you look at his personal brand that he built, what did we remove first? We removed the false belief of anyone looking at you and being like, oh, what are you posting? What are you this? Because you realize, oh, this is for a business, so it doesn't matter. So that happened internally, and that it affected his external world, okay? And even this, you told me you'd gotten in crazy shape right when you joined my program. You just left the job where you're making $600,000 a year. All these things were in your head. You had to remove those in order to become, you'd say you became almost like a new person. You think your life is completely different than what it would be?
Dude, 100%. Yeah.
So we had to remove those for him to change internally, which then we can move to the next, which is external. Because the external world does affect you, but you can start to control your own external world if you can control the internal. And so the next is we have the endorphin ecosystem is what I labeled it. And none of these really matter. He's not saying these in his content. Mike Rethor has the reckoning, right? And that's, just what we've labeled it for him to understand. But the endorphin ecosystem is an external core concept that's built from the way that he actually trains, right? When you reach a second wind when you're running and you get to like that next level, it's because the endorphins in your body really like push to the next level and you realize I have so much more that's actually here that's capable. The removal ritual must be present first, so that internal core concept must be present first for then this to happen. But this is what creates his ultimate athlete system. We change internally, and then we look at what's externally affecting us, we change that, and then we tie it all together to a system, which is the way that he trains, which I'm going to show you guys later in the day, later in this video, right? And we start to create all of these different things. Here, you can look, I explained this. So I was like, just like with runner's high, it happens after you push through a feeling that seems almost impossible. Right when everything gets the hardest, your brain and your body are given the opportunity to remind themselves that you are in control and you have so much more to give. Any of you guys who have ever felt this in business, in relationships, in anything, right when you feel like, you know, that everything is the darkest or the worst, if you just push yourself through that, you'll hit a second win and you'll go to the next level. This is how success always happens. So we've labeled this part of his brand and his offer the endorphin ecosystem because it represents this in every aspect of his life. It reminds Bennett that he's in control. If Bennett's going to label himself like the rest of the world, then sure, he can go out and drink, and now that he's drank and he's gone to Coachella and he's partied with his friends, he's no longer locked in because that's what the rest of the world thinks that happens, right? If you label yourself like this, your freedom is limited by your location. If you label yourself like the rest of the world, which the rest of the world just, you know, they don't ever push through to that second level, then you would have never bought from me at 19 years old. You would have never left a job where you're making $600,000 a year. You never would have started posting on social media, right? And so all of these things within your life, this is built on your foundation of your personality, right? But because Bennett is opposite, the endorphin ecosystem, what we've labeled it, it reminds all of his viewers that they're in control and they have to have faith in the impossible in order to see what they can actually achieve, right? So the animal-based diet is supported by this. You running your first marathon and being able to go to what you are now, you being able to do, you know, a handstand, you being able to go to Coachella, drink, party, have a blast, and still be in crazy shape. These all support this because you're constantly removing things from your life that are not beneficial. You're not letting life put an identity on you, and you're like, I'm going to choose exactly what I want to set up. The same way, if you look at it at baseline, where you would say, okay, well, I want to get in great shape and enjoy my life. Most people would say, well, don't go out and drink and don't do these things. Well, also they would say, if you want to get in great shape, you should track every single macro. You've decided, I don't subscribe to that, and I'm going to create my method that does it, but all of these things support each other. The system is only valuable on the back of this internal and external core concept, and it's the exact same way with his clients. Because as I said, if the guy before who's fat, who's your weight, comes to you looking for the system, yo, can you give me your meal plan? And you give it to him, but he hasn't taken advantage of his external and his internal state, it's useless. So we live in the day and age of information. Information is so saturated that no one even has the skill to apply it. If I would have taught you these things in a YouTube video before you would ever even make your first post, this is shit that's going to make you millions of dollars. It would have meant nothing to you though, because you didn't have the skill to act on it, right? And so
It's already been so much easier to act on too. Once you have the clarity on this, like, the story flows easier, the reels have been easier, the
Yeah.
DMs are easier. Like, this is
yeah, and so I'm going to break this down to you guys exactly how we create this funnel system before we move into the next part, okay? So here, what I've done is I've just created this little board for him to understand the thought structure, and I run in a 7 content system, meaning for each one of the core concepts, like we talked about yesterday, you basically should start every month with a baseline of 21 pieces of content. And I'm going to show you guys the Content OS dashboard that we use inside of Scale Info a little bit later. But the way that I run it, especially inside of my program, is we have the info operators, which is my personal one-on-one mentorship. Usually the guys that are, you know, they've been posting, they're getting started, they're working it up to guys who are doing, you know, $20,000, $30,000 a month. We have 3 different tiers for that. Then we have Scale Info, which is my top level consulting, really, really, really expensive. We basically license all the systems and build these out for you. And then the course and the community that we have is called the Info Funnel, because that is what I've named the system that I've created. So all of the actual foundations, the approach when you see core concepts, messaging, you know, when you see the sending traffic from Instagram to YouTube, using kind of like that cross-pollination technique, that is all what I call my info funnel system. And then the Scale Info systems are what we actually systemize the personal brand with. And here you guys will kind of be getting a breakdown of best of both worlds. So as we create these core concepts around Bennett's messaging, and when you see how we actually do this to create the actual profile funnel, then we'll move into how that actually applies into the Content OS. But first, I kind of want to make these together with y'all and show just kind of me and Bennett's thought process and how we would execute on this, right? So again, just as a reminder, a couple of you might be like, oh, where are these names coming from and stuff? Usually what I do, internal is usually a false belief or an insecurity. External is usually like a belief system or like morals that you have or worldviews that you have about life, and then the system is actually the reasoning and the situation behind how you've been able to achieve that. So like with Bennett, it's kind of there might be some people that don't believe that in life there's like a second win, right? We pull that from the fact that he's the way that he's lived his life and is running. And then there also might be people that think, there's nothing wrong with my life. I don't need to remove my life at all. I just need, the perfect information, right? And so these are just like simple beliefs, and I'll break down all of these. But the biggest one that I want to start with here is the endorphin ecosystem, so you can see how these tie together. So we have this video right here, and we're going to go ahead and break this down. The biggest setback to people that are good at making content is creating videos that go viral and then not understanding how that affects your viewers, how to get them from going, from watching a video that's gone viral into actually buying. And so we're gonna watch this video and we're gonna break down how we label it under the second core concept, and then how to actually move somebody from seeing this video for the first time to actually becoming a client that pays Bennett $5, $7, or even $10,000, right? So
I said, fuck it, I'm doing the whole thing. So we're doing the whole thing.
All right, it is 4:30 in the morning in Black Rock City, Nevada at Burning Man, and I'm about to go run an ultra marathon. Don't ask why.
400 crazy motherfuckers along with me that are about to go run this race.
So when I asked you yesterday, I guess we can just like run through it again. Like, why'd you make this video?
Because it was crazy. I was at Burning Man. I didn't even know that they had an ultra marathon. I'd gone the previous year and I didn't have shoes or anything prepared to do the run. And so when I found out about it the next year that I came, which was this year, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna do it because this is fucking crazy. I'm at Burning Man and they have an ultra marathon. Like who can say that they've done that?
Right.
So,
right, and so I think that right there just kind of shows like your mindset, because there was plenty of people at Burning Man that like didn't run that or like wouldn't have wouldn't have done that. And so when we look at this, when I asked you like, okay, do you know why this video went viral? Like before we actually broke this down, it was kind of like, I mean, what do you think you would have said like originally? I mean, because you posted this a long time ago. This was in the end of 2025. Like when this went viral, like what kind of was in your head about why it did good?
my initial reaction was like, yeah, I'm like, it's Burning Man. Burning Man is already pretty crazy. Running 31 miles is also crazy. And so you combine the two, and like it's just very odd. People don't see that very often, so they're initially intrigued by it. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling him, like, oh, let's not even go over this video because this one's just like such an anomaly. Like, it's not. Yeah. It doesn't actually apply. And then once we started breaking it down, I'm like, holy shit.
You saw directly how it applied.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing here is most people like, okay, let's say you get to the point where you have a video that does go viral, and this is why I say so much value is so much more important than views, because if you can understand how to convert clients, even if you don't get any videos that go crazy viral, you can still make more money than somebody who goes viral consistently but has no idea how to go from virality into actually providing value that gets them clients. So
I said,
most people think, oh, is it the hook? No, it's not the hook. He said, fuck it, I'm doing the whole thing. It's like, he just said running 31 miles at Burning Man. He's not like, there's nothing crazy in this video. It's so authentic, but what people don't understand is if I all of a sudden decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Burning Man next week and I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to run, 30 miles, it probably would do shit. Number one, because like it really is not incongruent with like the life that I have. There's no context of like why I would go make that decision. There, like, I've never even like ran anything like this before. It's just like it's not my speed, it's not my style. It just, there's zero context. For you, on the back of everything that you've done, like you're in the running community, you've gone to events like this all the time, and like it literally perfectly demonstrates and represents that thought process, the same thought process you had that allowed you to go from door knocking in solar space to doing online fitness coaching. The exact same process. It's counterintuitive, just like getting in crazy shape without tracking your macros, just like still running crazy long distances and then you like being able to bench 315, right? It's counterintuitive, and it keeps that, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna figure it out mindset that you have. And if we go back here, it perfectly fits into the endorphin ecosystem, because that is the thing that separates you and makes your brand so good, is you love things that are just like, bro, this will be so sick for the story. And a lot of times where you find the most success is in things that are counterintuitive to what most people would think, right? And so when I look at this baseline idea, okay, I'm gonna sit here, and the reason this video went viral was not because like he had some crazy CTA or he like flexed some crazy physique or even the hook. It was everything coming together to uniquely show like Bennett living in one of those times of like creative flow, and it holds all of these concepts of the endorphin ecosystem. He's now done something extremely hard while he's somewhere that's like super party oriented, and that's what keeps him having this ability to stay locked in and continue to run, be in shape, not track his macros, have freedom, have balance, and live and have a great time. So we take this top of funnel video and we look at the viewer, and what do you think? Somebody watches this from you. Like, what's their positioning now? They're ready to pay you $7,000. They, want to DM you. Like, where do you think the viewer is?
You said top of funnel?
For this?
Yeah, like you're saying a person that doesn't know me or a person that's already.
Well, like if this video is majority a top of funnel type video, because I don't need to know anything about you in order to consume this video, but Instagram also knows what the rest of your audience has engaged with this, and this is perfectly on brand with what you've done.
Yeah.
So like, I don't need to know, I'm Bennett Luke, I'm 29 years old, I'm 28 years old. 29?
I turn 29 next week.
Okay, so basically 29. Yeah. I'm 29 years old. I did this. I don't need to know any of these things. I just kind of see like, oh, I'm at Burning Man. I'm running 30 miles. I woke up before him, and it just makes perfect sense. That's why it's top of funnel. As we move into mid funnel, the messaging the person should need a little bit more context of who you are and what you're talking about in order for the video to make sense. So if I've never seen you before and I'm watching this video, like, where am I now at in your profile funnel? Like what comes next, basically, do you think?
I think people initially are just going to get really curious and be like, how the fuck is this guy doing this? Why is he doing this? It's going to lead them to clicking onto my profile.
Yeah.
And then starting to get like an actual overview of who I am, right? I don't really show off my physique in this video. It's not like you can tell that I'm crazy shredded or that I can do a lot of these other things that I do. It's more so just like, I think it builds a lot of curiosity.
Yeah, and now am I interested in, like, what's your unique method for running 30 miles? No, I'm interested in you. But the reason I'm interested in you is because something about this is like desirable to me. Something about this is like, I want to be able to do this, or I relate with this. And now this is top of funnel to the ICP that relates with this core concept. And this is the problem. When this video did well, and you didn't really understand back then like why it did well, because we weren't on this level of doing this together, where do you think your mind would have been? Are you just trying to maybe like create another video that like gets the same amount of views, or like what are you doing? Now this video went viral and you got 400,000 views. What's your goal now, do you think, back in that time? Not what you know now, but back in that time.
That time I literally was like, fuck man, Burning Man's not for another year. I'm not going to be able to make a video like this again. I'm going to have to find something else. Which, funny enough, like, there's probably some people right now watching this that are like, well, of course it went viral. Like, you're running 31 miles at Burning Man. Like, that's the biggest fucking text hook ever.
Yeah.
I made another video. You probably remember it, like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Where I ran a half marathon. Like that I was just like hungover.
Yeah.
So I ran
literally.
And it did well.
Yeah, I ran 13 miles.
Yeah.
And I was hung up. It was some random race.
Yeah.
Did really well. Did I think like 150,000 views?
Yeah.
Same exact kind of concept.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like that was basically this video.
Yeah.
Remade. We can pull it up if you want.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like,
So that's kind of my point, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful that you see that. I even remember you telling me, you're like, bro, if I'm not constantly having like cool things going on and cool shit, it's like I can't go viral. It's like, well, it's nice when we can go places,
Yeah.
but you can go home and create 5 versions of this, running a half marathon while hungover, right? You can do the next one and being like, taking a meeting with one of my clients who's training for his first marathon while I run 24 miles. Like, there's all these things. The value behind it is the thought process of doing things that you like almost make it way harder, and they're opposite ends of the spectrum, but you're like, fuck it, this is so absurd, I'm gonna go do it. And that's why it fits in this so well, because again, most people, their body gets tired when they're running. They, they're cramping. They, their legs can't go anymore. And the normal thing is to think, well, I'm done. I should listen to my body. When someone hits that runner's high, they hit that second wind, they push through that feeling delusionally, and they reach that second wind, and they're like, oh, I have so much more that I can give, and almost gives them a superpower. Same thing that happens here is every single time you show that feeling, it represents your mindset, your program, and your approach. So guys, it's never this is why people have the lifestyle marketing. Oh, if I don't have a Lamborghini, if I'm not in Miami, if I'm not constantly flexing my yacht and my supercar and all this, nobody's gonna watch. No. The only reason they actually watched is because you always wanted to achieve that. My Lamborghini was only valuable because I said in my car, in my Acura, when I was 18 years old at 4 a.m, every single morning at the gym making YouTube videos, that I'd get a Lamborghini, and I did it. If I just showed up on the scene and had a Lamborghini and nobody knew anything about my story, nobody gives a fuck, it's just a car. You know what I'm saying? And so most people mistake the medium for the actual mechanism. The mechanism here is the thought process, not just the fact that he's at Burning Man. Otherwise, you're putting the value on Burning Man instead of your thought process at Burning Man.
and literally in this video, like I got to 26 miles, I ran a marathon, and that's when I was like, all right, like I'm pretty beat. I'm just gonna like my feet hurt. I came here to fucking party, not to run a ultra marathon.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like call it good here.
Yeah.
And then that's when the hook happens, where I'm like, fuck it. Like I said, I'm doing the whole thing, so I'm doing the whole thing, and I get the second win.
And that emotional exchange, obviously, also that energy in the weirdest way is probably also why this did so well, because it literally shows you authentically. You even thought in your head, fuck it, like, it's good. Like, I have this thought all the time. It's just like the mindset of a successful person. But if I sat here and I told somebody like, yo, talk about your mindset while you're running, you might be like, when it gets hard, that's when you have to push through. Nobody wants to listen to that shit. This is a creative and personable way to show that thought structure while people watch your life. But now the goal is, okay, I'm interested in your thought structure. I'm curious, top of funnel. What happens now? What do I need to what needs to happen now in order for me to start going through the process of like you becoming somebody that I want to be coached by or that I want to learn from?
I feel like you gotta watch more of my content. Like,
Right.
If you only see that video,
Right.
like it's gonna pique curiosity.
Yeah.
The next natural progression is you click on my profile.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna see my bio. You're gonna see my highlights. Maybe you'll click into my highlights. You probably won't yet. You'll probably just see my 3-pin post and scroll a little bit.
Yeah.
And then hopefully just through that, it builds way more curiosity of like, how the fuck is this guy doing
Because
this? Who is this guy?
Yeah, and it's set up that way where a lot of you guys, y'all post videos, and even I've seen people with like one viral video. You look at the viral video, you look at the rest of their account, and it has literally nothing to do with any of these. If I followed for this thought process, and I look at the rest, Mykonos, working out, no coffee for 30 days, jet lag, traveling, partying, in shape. Here's my thought process. Here's my approach. Here's this, here's this, here's this. And so I immediately go from, damn, this is sick, but I might think you're a professional runner. I might think that you're one of these like skinny boys that's not even in shape and you're just running. And then I go, wow, this guy's jacked. He's traveling all the time. Dope ass mindset. Very personable guy. I like this guy. And he can run like a fucking beast. And he level up your physique without tracking macros. How does he do all this stuff? Now I'm curious. Now what happens is I want to learn more about you so that you gain authority over me. So there needs to be relationship built. I need to see that you think the way that I do or you've achieved the things that I want. Then I need to start seeing on a day-to-day basis your stories of how have you actually built this person. It's not just your genetics. It's not just that you're better than everybody. I see that it's a process on a day-to-day basis, and my problems need to start getting solved, and that's how we create this funnel. And so the problem is, guys, you have a top of funnel that does well, and 99% of people in the space, they go, wow, that did good. I don't even know why it did good. Maybe I just need to go to Burning Man more, or maybe I need to go to more events and run more. And they continue to try to repeat something that they don't even understand what the value is. They put it outside of themselves instead of inside of yourselves. It's a fucking personal brand. It's a fucking personal brand. The value is inside of you, not outside of you. So when you understand what's important here, we can go here and we can look, okay, what are some baseline ideas from that video? Being able to choose to suffer and balance it with enjoyment. And then you can go down. These are just templates that we've created. These are just baselines, right? These two here. These have nothing to do with your offer. This is just from the Miro board here, right? But if I look here, your best experiences and greatest mental breakthroughs come from how wild will it be and will I take the challenge? Literally goes right back to getting in shape without tracking macros, running your first marathon, going from a very, very high income job to, you know what, I'm gonna go online and start posting videos of myself. So we create this, and now we can create mid-funnel videos, which are more relationship and opinion based, and somebody needs more context, and you can start talking about your mindset of, being able to choose to suffer and balance it with enjoyment. Well, you have the enjoyment of, we just rode the four-wheelers to go eat food. You can look at the menu, not need to know the macros, know what you need to eat, and do all of these things. Whereas somebody else who operates like that, every other dude I've seen here, they're kind of like fat and out of shape and all of these things, but I don't see them waking up doing pull-ups. I don't see them waking up doing 100 push-ups. I don't see them running. I don't see them constantly being mindful of what they're putting in their body. So yeah, if you are just constantly in the gym training and you're not actually paying attention to these inputs, sure, you're probably gonna have to track your macros in order to get there. But because you're choosing to suffer in the moment, run crazy miles, lift as hard as you fucking can, hold yourself accountable, you can also have the enjoyment of traveling, having the freedom, knowing when to eat and when not to eat, and not having to track your macros. So you can literally just be traveling. You can be like, what's up, guys? I'm on the way to Greece. I'm in the airplane. There's been so many travel videos, so many this, and now we've created a mid-funnel from this angle that somebody who watches this, sees this, they're curious, what else do you have? Then they see a video of you were traveling to Burning Man, not tracking your macros, and preparing to do a 31-mile run the next day and being like, I know I need extra energy, so I'm carbing up. And they're like, here's how we prepared for it. That's sick. And then they watch another mid-funnel and they see how you've created your physique and your transformation that you've had, and they learn a little bit more about your mindset. And then they go watch a YouTube video from that same core concept that you post on your stories, and they're starting to constantly get their mind wrapped and entangled around your thought process to the point where they go, this guy has the solution that I'm looking for. And that's when the bottom of funnel videos that take it to the next level and start preaching the actual system and how you've done that. So we can go, here's me running 30 miles at Burning Man where I'm selling the thought process. Yeah. Then here's how I created the thought process and how it's actually, occurs in my day-to-day life. And then here's what I do anytime that's coming up, right? So it can literally be step by step. Like when I'm traveling and I want to stay lean, especially since I don't track my macros, or if I know I have a big run coming up, here's exactly how I would create my full day of eating to prepare for this 30-mile run. And then instead of just talking about cantaloupes and steak and this, it's I'm gonna have 100 grams of fruit because I know that tomorrow I'm gonna be running 30 miles and I need those extra carbs, XYZ. So the person understands, well, that doesn't mean that you're saying that they need the same amount of fruit before their run. That's the actual way. So they hit you up, and when they message you, it's just like the same thing with lead magnets. So many people run lead magnets, and they're like, hey, message me for my lead magnet. The person messages the CTA, you send the fucking lead magnet, but they don't even know how to apply it. The value comes from you teaching them. It's not the things I'm telling you. It's not just the information. It's the thought structure to applying it. And we do these with each of your core concepts, and it becomes a really, really, really good system. And this content system creates this ultimate ability to just reciprocate all the way back to what needs to change, what needs to change, what needs to change, what needs to change. when people DM you, we start to know, well, what core concept do they fall into and what have they seen the most of? And then,
Instantly already, like I've been able to see, like when someone messages me,
yeah,
instantly can see where the incongruency is,
Yeah.
or even just where, and in my stories too, like in the morning, like this makes it, I used to struggle thinking about what to talk about
Yeah.
after I do my push-ups
yeah.
or eat or whatever, and
You can even look at them like today and see, like this morning. Right. So here, the outer world is always changing. How do you control your inner world? So, obviously, easy question, but like, what core concept are you speaking to this morning?
the endorphin ecosystem.
The endorphin ecosystem, right? And so go here, you're like, the outer world is always changing. How do you control your inner world? Because what I talked about with you guys is the external is how is the external in, and the internal is how is the internal out. So he's talking about how is the environment outside you infecting your internal state. The environment of Burning Man would usually affect someone negatively to their internal state. Bennett controls his external by, I'm going to go run a 30 miles at Burning Man, meaning I can do things that most people would think would get you off of your grind, and I can still enjoy it. Why? Because I'm so in control of my internal state that I can also control my external. So today, we run the same system. The morning story flow, we have the 5 story pillars that I talk about, showing you literally doing your routine on a day-to-day basis. You lead with this, and then we go here.
Every day when you wake up, like nothing is ever the same. The world's always changing.
We've woken up 5 days now, and it's been push-ups with the same view, and you like making stories just like this. You would think people would get bored, but people do not get bored of the ever-changing thought process. I see people all the time being like, oh, you should post 5 stories only, and you're gonna get burnt out, you're gonna burn out your audience. No, that's just because you have no idea how people are viewing it. If people came from this reel and saw this reel or this reel the other day, best gym in Bali, and they're seeing this, and then they're watching your stories, literally speaking directly to them, if you don't have awareness of how your viewers see you, you'll never be successful. And every single day, it's a new topic, it's a new thing that's being taught, and then we take that data, we go full stack, boom, top funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel. Stories are always mid funnel to bottom funnel, and I have plenty of videos about my story blueprint. Bennett's been using that for the last 2 years to filter this through, and then we take a mid funnel to bottom of funnel section, and we just create a YouTube video about it. Now what happens is we can identify where the viewer is at within our funnel. Is the viewer just top of funnel and they send us a CTA, and you guys are sitting here trying to book them on a call when they've only watched one video? Just because you're getting inbound DMs doesn't mean that it's a qualified DM or the person is ready. So you're sitting there thinking you need a DM setter, or your sales process is broken. Meanwhile, the person just hasn't even seen enough content to even understand what the fuck they need to buy from you, or why you can be the one that actually helps them. So here, then we start to understand, oh, I did this, I squeezed this person through the funnel, they watched my mid funnel, they built relationship with me, authority is built, now they know I'm the person, now they're reaching out, and I see what they're really missing is just, how do I execute on this on a day-to-day basis? So I learn more about them instead of just trying to sell them my stuff. They have an epiphany in their mind, their belief shifts, then the actual system becomes clearly valuable, then we can easily book them on a call and go from there. And that's where actually the beginning of the program starts, is breaking that belief. And then your program, again, the Ultimate Athlete, we start with internal, then we move to the external environment, and then we implement the system. And it's this huge infinity loop that always teaches us about data in their business. The number one thing that has made me so much more successful than the rest of my competition at a young age is the fact that I've been able to look at this and be able to know exactly the way people are messaging me. I'm missing explaining this in my content. The way the objections people have on sales calls, oh, well, I haven't done this the right way in the DM process. If people aren't getting results, which we're so far past that, even like with you, it's very, very easy for a coach just starting out to see, well, what was missing in this process that I wasn't. A trainerized program is usually not the thing that they need. If it was as simple as they just needed macros in a workout, then nobody would be paying you and everybody would be in shape. The problem is they're tracking their macros and all the videos are out there and they're doing CBUM split, but they haven't even understood what are the internal things that are holding them back. Therefore, even your program is invaluable if you don't solve this first, and that starts in the content. So it's just this huge loop that teaches you. And if we do DM setting together, like, it makes it so much easier to understand, and then you can also throw that into your fulfillment system as well. I hope you guys enjoyed that live coaching session that I did with Bennett. We actually probably have like 4 hours of those sessions. We did a story session. We would wake up in the morning, we'd break down his content. That's what I wanted to give to you guys that I was recording though. Currently, I'm in Athens, Greece at the Four Seasons. I got a little spot for a couple of days. Thought I'd come inside because it's quite loud out there. But there's a direct flight from Athens back to Atlanta, and I can fly Delta One. And for me, it's just very, very worth it, so I can work and get a little sleep because it's been super hectic. But the past couple of days staying here have been amazing. I feel like I'm actually able to work and rest a little bit for the first time. Sitting here on my computer, getting some work done, but I wanted to brief you guys for what you're about to see. So as me and Bennett talked about those core concepts, creating top, mid, and bottom of funnel resources and then putting them into the videos, you have to also know, how do I convert once I understand how people move through the funnel? So you've created your core concepts, you've created that personal brand, you understand what you're talking about, but then what happens is the whole point of that system is being able to convert when the time comes and know how to push those people through. Because what everybody else does is they just try to go as viral as possible and post call to actions as many times as possible. They have no idea what works, why it works. They just know when I get a bunch of views, if I post call to actions, I get a bunch of DMs. If you don't go viral, you don't really know what happens. And even if you do go viral, most of the most successful coaches that I know, they'll be successful a few months and then their business dies down because they built their entire personal brand. These are not people that are in my program, just people that I know of. Their business dies down and they have no idea how to rebuild that consistency or rebuild that momentum. They have no idea what to do. And so this is the only system, obviously the info funnel that I've created, also combined with the scale info systems that I have, that allows you to basically have full control over your audience, how they convert, when they convert, and knowing what you need to do day after day, week after week, month after month to grow your business. And I want you to now see a VIP resource that I did with my community. I have one-on-one clients. I have different tiers of packages, but every single one of my clients, we have just the info funnel, which is the course, the foundation, and the systems. We have the info operators, which is my main mentorship program. And then we have the scale info consulting, which is my VIP, really, really top tier, clients and big businesses, guys that are making a lot of money already. And each of those have different levels of group calls, but this is just the main group call that we have every single month that my students get on top of the one-on-one calls that they have directly with me. And so I want you to watch me teaching how to take that top, mid, and bottom of funnel system that we teach in the info funnel that I was doing live with Bennett, and understand how to actually use that to break down conversions and bring in customers every single week using the system. So as you paid attention to that, sit down, pay attention, and understand, once you've created that foundation, now how to push people through and make them convert at will. This basically gives you full control over your coaching business. I hope you guys enjoy. One of the first calls that we do in Scale Info is, once we've identified what the actual core concepts are, the internal, the external, and then the system core concept, and we've identified the top of funnel runner that kind of matches that, then we'll assign it here. And this doesn't look very pretty because Devin's just giving me the data, but we find the video, then we put a couple of different angles, and then we create mid funnel angles, and we create then bottom funnel angles from that. And this kind of allows us to see the discrepancy between what's missing within my program or within my profile, what false beliefs are people having in the DMs, do I even have content to serve that false belief? This is what creates that predictable system that I talk about, because it's very easy for you to see and have a DM, look at what the person says, you identify a incongruence between what they believe and what you say within your content or what you know to be true. And then once you've solved that, you go back and you look, what pieces of content should he have watched in order to have that belief fixed? And you realize I haven't really posted it much. It's in your head. You think about it all the time, but you're not displaying it in the way that they need. And so you can see that each of these concepts, we're tagging sticky notes under this to create all of these different little thoughts and all these things that tag into that core concept. And you can see that some of them are alone, standalone by themselves, and then some of them start to get closer to the middle to create this personal brand, because they should all support each other, but they should all have their own little thoughts. So now from here, we can take every single one of these and we can start to convert between identities, right? This person reaches out saying that they want Devin's system. We identify the false belief that shows they haven't even done the proper internal work. So they're looking for the system, but they don't see that they're missing this internally. And the whole conversion process, now that they've gone from top to mid funnel of actually reaching out to us and watching our content, the whole conversion process is identifying where they're at and changing that false belief so they go from the system here into being able to fix this identity. And that right there is the whole sales process. It's literally a mathematical equation to change the person's beliefs so they go from either something's keeping them from buying, they're interested, but something's keeping them from buying, to you're the only person that can solve my problem. And you guys will kind of see how this works out and goes into the Content OS dashboard. But this is like one of the first assignments that everyone has. Obviously, Devin just has a couple videos left, and then we'll do our next call and we'll kind of put all of these together. But what we're going to do is we're going to then see, once you've perfected that or you've mastered that, how do we actually start turning that into a conversion system and using the info funnel the way that I originally designed it to be used, which the two most important parts of that are Instagram stories and YouTube videos, as you guys know, okay? So as I dive into this board, I want to preface a little bit. Again, if your core concepts are not understood the right way, and this is why the mentorship is so precise, because if you've created your core concepts but you've had nobody to reach out to or actually tell you, yes, these core concepts are actually congruent with the way that your ICP sees you, it's really, really hard to get this right, because you can't see the bottlenecks, or you can't spot the blind spots that are happening, okay? So you need to make sure that that's solid and you have a good understanding of that. But also, you need to understand why this is so lethal, okay? If you look at face value, when we think of top, mid, and bottom of funnel, okay, it would seem logical that top of funnel is where they find you, mid funnel is where they get nurtured, and bottom of funnel is where they convert. That is, on the baseline, the most general way to put it, right? Because in business, there's so much nuance and there's so many variables. The thing is, that's what we want to shoot for. That is our goal. That's our baseline that we're aiming for. Most people will convert in between, or they'll reach out to you in between mid and bottom of funnel. They've seen enough mid funnel to reach out. It's not that every single person goes through the system fully, okay? So you have most of the viral creators, they only post top funnel and get a bunch of DMs. The whole entire point is to identify if your Instagram and your YouTube is the funnel. It's where do I send them, how do I speak to them, and how do I actually cater to their position, because that's what makes you not seem salesy, and that's what makes them feel heard. So it makes them feel heard. The best way for me to explain this, okay, is who has experienced calling, something like your bank or Amazon or one of these companies, and you genuinely cannot talk to a human being, or you're calling, you're talking to Amex, and you call and you explain this whole problem to somebody, and then they're like, oh, we got to transfer you to this department, and then they transfer you and you have to explain the whole thing again, and then you finally get there and it's like, oh, we got to transfer you to this department, right? Who's experienced something like that where it's just so frustrating you have to just continue to explain your situation over and over again? It sucks, okay? That is what most people feel like when they're DMing you. The problem is they aren't even fully aware of their problem. Imagine you called your bank and they answered, and just based on your activity in the app, they're like, oh, Mr. Whitley, what are you calling about? And then you tell them, and they're like, oh, okay, so I saw you were doing this, and I saw this transaction happened, and I saw this. Was there a double payment? Is that what you're calling about? And they're like, yeah, there was and you go through that. you would never ever want to leave that. You'd be like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's literally like they can almost read my mind, okay? The whole entire point is to create content that influences the way these people think, and how much content they've consumed of you will show within the awareness that they have of themselves and how they speak about their problem. So if you're making a top funnel video and this video goes viral and you get 100,000 views and you're not used to having 100,000 views on a video and you get a bunch of DMs, your brain immediately goes, wow, I need to do that again because I got a bunch of DMs. The problem is our goal is not to get a bunch of DMs, our goal is to make a bunch of fucking money, right? And so if you cannot figure out where that gap between getting DMs, getting views, and then actually making money is, and you can't actually identify what to change to make this work better in order to convert, you have just made yourself feel like you're making progress, but you're not actually making progress. Hence why I always say value over views, right? And so what we want to be able to do is we want to have these core concepts that almost define terms and they define rules so we can operate within an environment that we can control, okay? The best way for me to explain this, and you'll hear a couple of biblical references through this system, is it's like this, okay? Let's take the most basic law from the Ten Commandments, okay? It's like, thou shalt not kill, right? If you go back in history and you have some barbaric tribe, let's say that, or let's even say now, okay, you have some barbaric tribe that the Bible has never reached them, okay, and there's no moral laws, there's no social laws, any of these different things. It's just human nature rules, okay, and whatever the man desires goes. And if somebody, steals your food, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm angry, I want to kill you. If somebody makes fun of you or, takes the girl that you want, oh, I'm angry, I want to kill you. That's literally just human nature, okay? Like that to an extreme, but that's human nature, right? If there's no rules and no laws, everything is subjective, then, well, you kill a person, well, that's just what happens. Whereas in our society, oh, this is bad, this is morally wrong. If you're a Christian, this is extremely morally wrong, right? And all of these different things. When there's no rules defined and there's no controlled environment, everything and anything goes, and logic doesn't even exist because you have no context to define the logic. John Mark, why are you talking about people on a deserted island killing people and it being morally wrong? What does this have to do with converting? If you are creating content and it's not grounded in core concepts in the way that your audience views it, you have defined no terms, meaning logic doesn't even exist, and you can't even start to identify where the person is at or what they need to be sold, right? And so think about this. Imagine this entire island, okay, gets, you share the gospel, you read the Bible, all these, like everyone converts, and now the laws of the land are based on the Bible, okay? Now, somebody gets their food stolen, they kill someone, now they are held accountable because there's a controlled environment of what the law is and what is right or wrong. There's a controlled environment and there's rules, okay? Very, very silly and simple example, okay? But what a lot of you guys don't understand is your personal brand is an environment. You're creating a controlled environment. And so many people don't realize, thank you, Tywin, so many people do not realize that when someone comes to you, their qualification as a buyer is how much do they understand the rules of what you talk about. Can somebody, if you don't know, just guess and tell me what you think maybe one of the rules within my personal brand could possibly be. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Just type in the chat what you think like one of those random like rules or like laws or principles is within my personal brand for what I teach. Okay, yeah, 15 stories a day, right? 15 stories a day. And Alex says value over views, right? Now, if you've never, ever, if you meet someone who's never, ever watched any of my content and you ask them, hey, what does, 15 stories a day mean for you? Even if they're in, this same industry, the definition is, it's so subjective, right? It's subjective to the person because they might be 15 stories a day. You don't even know what to post, so you're just spamming it. Inside of my environment, when you've watched my content, the more of my content you've watched, the more you understand how to define this. 15 stories a day, you're extrapolating on the topics that you have, you're showing your process in action, right? You're literally living the prospect's, ideal and dream life. You're showing yourself doing this, you're building relationship, you're nurturing, you're speaking to people in real time. And there's all of these things that exist under the environment of my personal brand, right? Now, this is the thing, okay? If we think about the Bible again, right? The point of, understanding that if you don't have the Holy Spirit, and I don't mean to make this a lecture about Christianity, it just so happens to be that in the book of life, there's so many lessons that we can learn about life and about business, okay? But if you're a Christian, you understand that the more you have the Holy Spirit within you, the easier it becomes to decipher and interpret the Word of God. It's almost like an encrypted code, okay? And so the more time you spend with Jesus, the more you pray, the more you become like Him, the easier it is to understand and have the discernment of like, what does this actually mean? Because there are some things in the Bible that are very, very hard to understand, okay? And so the same way that the more time your viewer spends with you, the more they understand broad principles that you're speaking about, right? It's just like this. And this is why you see the biggest creators get copied by the smallest creators. People will come in and be like, I want to start my personal brand, and they'll start recreating videos that Alex Hormozi has made, not knowing that there's 15 years of context behind every single one of these videos. And when he says something, it doesn't mean it's going to perform well when you say something, right? There's rules. When Alex Hormozi says volume negates luck, there is so much context that populates into the viewer's head because they've consumed so much of his content. They've listened to podcasts, they've watched him grow his business, not make any money, lose all of his money, build a huge business, make $100 million in a day. And all of these stories and lessons and ideas pop into their head when they hear volume negates luck. Versus if I go watch some, person I've never seen before ever say volume negates luck, I just interpret that based on how I feel, what I think volume negates luck means. That does not mean that I'm interpreting it the right way. So what we want to do is we want to qualify our viewer or our buyer by how much context do they already have about these terms and things that we talk about. So if somebody DMs me, and they are talking about how they've watched my free training, they've watched my resources, they're posting 15 stories a day, and they're like, man, it's just, I'm not getting inbound DMs, but I'm posting 15 stories a day. What I automatically understand is they are less qualified because they don't understand what the purpose of stories are. I go and I look at their page, and I see that all of their videos, they're a fitness coach, and all of their videos are just their physique, talking about discipline, talking about mindset. And then their stories all day long is just them training, them eating, them talking about why you need to be disciplined, and that's it. And there's nothing else there. Well, then I respond and I realize this guy's in my third core concept of wanting my system. The problem is he hasn't done the work inside of core concept 2 of how the external is viewed about him. And when he posts his meal, he looks at his meal and he thinks about how long it took to cook it, all the macros that he tracked, the effort that he put into it, how it's actually working in his body, and he posts it and he takes a picture and he's like, chicken and rice, 60 grams of carbs, bang, and he posts it and he thinks that the viewer interprets it the same way as him. There are no rules. They look at it and they are not aware of all these things that go into it. And so if somebody messages this guy and they're like, bro, can you give me a meal plan like yours? And there's no terms defined, they're operating in two entirely different systems of logic because there's no context, right? I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, okay? You guys can just shake your head or yes or no. If you are going 120 miles per hour in a car, driving really, really fast, and you're just speeding, are you going over the speed limit? Somebody shake your head like yes or no. What you guys think, or type in the chat. If you're driving 120 miles an hour, are you going over the speed limit? I just want to see what you guys. Okay. Tommy even said I'd say so. Max says depending on the speed limit. All you guys were there. If I were to say well, why is that? Well, you'd be like, well, I don't know, most roads, the speed limit is like stops at like 80 miles per hour. And I'm like, well, what if you're in Germany on the Autobahn? Oh, well, then you're not speeding. So what happened there? I asked you a question and you answered based on the context of what you were thinking, subjective context, but not the objective context of, all you had to do was say, well, where are you? And if I were to say, you're in the US, well, now you know what are the rules. There's not a single road in the US where you can drive 120 miles an hour. So now you can easily say, without a shadow of the doubt, yes, you are absolutely speeding. But if I'm like, somewhere in Europe, then you have to be like, oh, well, are you in Germany? What's happening is you ask questions that create context, that lead you and narrow down the answers because there's so many variables, and you get to the point where you can literally know without a shadow of a doubt exactly what the answer is. So when you've created enough context within your content and you've created these core concepts and you've talked about these things, if someone texts me and says the 15 stories a day and I see he's saying, bro, I'm posting 15 stories a day, it's not working, and I'm like, brother, you're misunderstanding what the point of the stories are. I know that this guy, I shouldn't try and argue with him and convince him why my system of stories is going to be better. I need to break his belief first. The value is not me telling him what stories to post. The value is me telling him what way to approach posting these stories. I ask him, so every time you post a meal, right, on your story, like, how does that lead to you converting a client? He's like, well, they see like my consistency and they see, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, how come they don't buy from all of your competitors when they post the same thing? Well, I don't know, they like my personality. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's the way that you interpret how this meal affects you and everything else that goes together. So when somebody reaches out to me, if they said the opposite and they're like, bro, I'm posting 15 stories a day, I know I need to make my messaging show off this like method a little bit better. I'm not sure how to be aware enough of how these things impact my viewer's life. Well, this person has seen a lot of my content and they're very, very qualified. It has nothing to do with budget, it has to do with time invested of content that I've already posted that they have watched, how much they actually care. So this is a person that I know that there's urgency because they put in so much time and so much emotional investment. When I call myself Mr. Free Value, yeah, it's free when you watch the resource, but what do you pay me with? You pay me with something that's more valuable. You pay me with your time. It's actually cheaper to just find me, pay me, and not spend all the extra time watching my YouTube, but humans don't think like this, right? Because we're already given time and we have to work for money, right? But that's a problem for another day, okay? So what we want to do is we want to create a controlled environment through these core concepts, post top funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel, so we can know this person hit me up, they had watched my content for 3 months, they were still having this limiting belief. Where have I solved that? Oh my gosh, I have no nurturing videos about that. I never even thought of that. I post more nurturing videos based off the way that I break his limiting belief, okay? And what we do from there is we take that whole system, we create story flows and we create YouTube videos, and it's literally an infinite loop of people message you from your content, you see what they say, you see what the false beliefs are, you hit them with more content to push them through the funnel, right? Then you look and you revamp your content, you make new YouTube videos, people close, you realize what had to happen, you post more content, and you can constantly look at this thing like an entire puzzle and just go, oh, more DMs are asking me this question, they're not saying this about me, I post more and make that more clear. Oh, more people are getting on the sales call and they're having this objection, bang, I post that and make that more clear. Oh, people that have even paid me, during the second and the third call that we have together, a lot of guys are getting stuck here. Well, that means that hasn't even been addressed after they've paid me, so it's definitely not been addressed in my main content. Let me fix that there and fix that within my program, and it constantly builds on itself and it makes everything more clear. And so what we do in order to create that conversion system after those core concepts, right, is we want to find where do we grab the ideas from, okay? You can take it from personal experience using the coach's frame, right? The best place to do it is while you're DM setting or you're having conversations with, your clients, right? You can do it on client calls. You can also do it on sales calls and objections. You should be able to identify it usually before the sales call, but a lot of times people will bring up emotional objections that they have once they've gotten on a sales call with you, and then you can literally go study the sales call. Did the guy close? How did I have to handle that objection? Wow, did I come up with that on the spot? Have I ever made content about that? I could have saved myself 30 minutes if I would have had a YouTube asset that already broke that objection before the person even came to me. You start to understand how to nurture these people in the post-booking flow. You start to understand how to nurture them to get them and push them to reach out. And we want to create those assets, okay? So you can use your own ideas. You can use client calls like with me and Mike. You can use DMs. I've given some examples here, right? And so the step-by-step system of creating this flow that I'm showing you guys to actually push through and convert these people is number one, we find an idea or a false belief from our ICP, and then we frame it against one of our core concepts, okay? We find those ideas, again, in coaching calls, client calls, in our own life, in the DM setting process, and we see where it's not there. Then we label the false belief, and we frame it against our own experience, meaning we find how has this belief that's showing up in somebody else's life, how has that happened similarly in my own life? And then we create a YouTube video that breaks that down, uses our own personal example, and it uses this YouTube system that I'm about to show you here, okay? Then once we create that video, then we build an entire story flow that's directly to convert people and get DMs to send to that video. Based on the same structure of the YouTube video, we create a 5 to 7 step story flow, and we send all traffic possible to that YouTube video unlisted. We convert all these people through breaking their false belief. They watch the video, then they hit us up, then we post the video, we take it from unlisted, we make it public, and then we do the exact same thing. Next week, what am I doing? What's the data? What am I doing? And you're constantly getting these videos because this system works together, okay? So once we've created the idea, right, which I'll give you guys an example. Here, I want to ask y'all a question. This is going to take a little bit longer than usual, but you can go watch this in the Loom video after. But if you guys can read this on the screen, I'm not going to dive too much into this because I've done it so many times, right? But if the very first thing that we're trying to do is find an idea or a false belief from the ICP, even if you don't know Paulo's core concept, can any of you guys, as I read this out, okay? Anyway, Tommy, even if it's you, I'd like to hear from any of you guys, okay? Just don't think about right or wrong answers. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, because again, this is feedback for me. If I ask this question and nobody knows the answer, either I didn't ask the question the right way, or I need to go through and I need to show you guys where I've talked about this hundreds of times, okay? So he says, this is one of my clients, Paulo. A guy reached out to him, Paulo, hope you're doing well. I've been pondering over the idea of contacting you for consulting services for a while, but I wasn't sure how much you charge. Could you give me a price breakdown of what you offer? I've been eternally stuck in the skinny fat phase for a while, and I'm hoping to pack on some muscle. I've been training consistently this year, but wasn't sure if I'm doing everything as well as I can. That's where I was hoping you could help by reviewing my plan, my diet, and seeing where I can make improvements anywhere. Now, I will say, this one is a little bit more complex, a little bit more advanced, okay, because there's not much there. But again, I'll give you guys a hint. We're trying to find an idea or a false belief that is separate from what we teach. Now, you don't even have to know Paulo's core concepts, and you can find, if you know anything about fitness or mindset or personal development, you can find multiple false beliefs here, okay? And Paulo responds, and he actually responds the wrong way. This was an old DM. I asked him to send me these before we did one of our last coaching calls that we did a couple of weeks ago, or our most recent coaching calls that we did like a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so we already went over this, and he knows how to fix this time, but I'm using this as an example. Any of you guys know, because Paulo said, what do you think is holding you back, question mark? Ideally, after about a year, you should have some decent muscle. That's not a good DM to send back to this person. I'm going to explain why, but can any of you guys from this top message look at this and just mention any type of inconsistency that maybe these people have? Noel, what do you think it is? Oh, I see.
I probably would ask them, like, what do you think is the biggest thing holding you back, to identify what he believes is limiting him the most?
Well, that's basically the same question as Paulo, because here's the thing here. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to, we can't respond in a way that makes this guy double down on thinking that he knows what is wrong. But we can't tell him, bro, we can't basically look at this guy and say, dude, you're an idiot. You have no idea what's wrong with your life, okay? Because human beings don't like to be labeled, right? But what we're trying to do is we want to put this guy in a logical prison using his own logic so he doesn't feel like we called him a dumbass. We want him to be like, oh, I feel like a dumbass myself, okay? Not in a dickheadish way. I'm a dumbass every single day. There's so many things that I don't see, okay? But in this position here, what we're trying to do, if I look at this again, what is the thing that doesn't make sense? Tywin, what do you think?
He said he's internally stuck, but he's doing exterior things to try to fix it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. But what belief do you think that he has? That's like right on it. But I think you have a little bit more in your mind. He says, "I've been eternally stuck in the skinny fat phase, and I'm hoping to pack on some muscle. I've been training pretty consistently this year, but I wasn't sure if I'm doing everything as well as I could be." Okay. Tywin, if your son, let's say your son's 20 years old, okay, and you know you're getting him ribbed, he's getting in shape, and you know he's like, Dad, like, not that your son would ever be skinny fat, but okay, let's just say there's a scenario where he is, right? And then he's like, Dad, like I'm stuck, you know, I want to put on some more muscle. I've been training consistently, but I'm just not sure if I'm doing everything I can be. What would you say to him if he said those exact words to you?
Well, I mean, if you're training consistently, but you're not sure what you're doing, that doesn't make any sense. What would you? So you're not doing the right thing.
There we go. So it's like, whoa. This doesn't make any sense. So you first were pondering, you were putting off reaching out to me because you weren't sure how much I charged. Well, if any of you guys have ever had a desire to know how much something costs, you just immediately ask, how much does the thing cost? Okay? So immediately I look at if you understand human behavior and you understand your own content, right? It's not a science problem to figure this out. You simply just look at logic. Well, no. He's hiding behind something, but he doesn't know what it is, so he labels it as an excuse of like, I wasn't sure how much you charge. Could you give me a price breakdown of what you offer? Okay, so immediately I see that this guy, and Tywin was right on the money. Immediately I see that this guy, he wants to know, how much does what you offer cost? Well, in order to be a good judge of price to value, we must understand what is the outcome that I'm looking for, okay? So he just said, I want to be a good judge of if how much you charge is worth the outcome that I'm looking for. And then he says, I've been stuck for a long time in this thing that doesn't exist, in this skinny fat phase. We have no idea what that means at all. I'm in the skinny fat phase. I don't know what that means. And then he says, and I'm hoping to pack on some muscle. Another thing there, hoping, right? Like that's a small one, but again, he's just doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. We just look, if you logically look at this, if any person came to you guys and said this, if you responded to them, if you responded to any of these people and you said, what do you think is holding you back? If he didn't give us any data, I might want to ask that, but he already told me what's holding him back. He does not know, but he doesn't want to admit it. So if I'm a good coach, I should be able to see. This is like you coming to the doctor and you tell him, this is wrong with me, 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 I'm feeling this symptom, I'm feeling this symptom, I'm feeling this symptom, and the doctor's like, what do you think, what sickness do you think you have? It's like, yeah, if somebody comes to you and says, doctor, I'm sick, give me medicine, then you need to say, okay, well, what sickness do you think you have? Tell me about the symptoms. There's enough symptoms here for any good doctor to be like, okay, well, what do we do? After we've identified the inconsistency, we ask them a question that confirms their opinion. Because if this guy says this and I respond and I say, wow, you are so stupid, bro. You don't even know what you're trying to achieve. So how can you be consistently doing something if you don't even know what you're doing? And how could you want to know how much it costs to achieve a thing that you don't even know what you want to achieve? I can't do that to him. So what I would immediately just do here is I would just ask, I would be like, bro, you said you've been training consistently, but then you also said you've been stuck in the skinny fat phase, and I'll just send a DM because this guy's all over the place. I'd be like, yo, bro, so you say you've been training consistently, and you said you've been stuck in the skinny fat phase for a while, and you're trying to pack on some muscle. I'm curious, like how do you define consistency? Because to me, like, consistency means doing something over and over that's like the right thing. Whereas consistently doing something that's bad, that's just kind of like a bad habit. That's just kind of a mistake. I don't think anybody would label that as consistency. So like, what makes you say like you've been consistent? Because to me, if you've been skinny fat for a long time, I would say you haven't been consistent. You've just been lost. And now we just offer that to him. I give him the logic, and then we see how he responds. And what's going to happen is he's going to start to scramble to make himself not look stupid, because all human beings do this. And what happens is he is backing himself in the corner. I'm not forcing him in the corner. So it's not salesy. He's backing himself. So he's going to respond, and he's going to be like, oh, well, I didn't mean that. I just meant I've been showing up. It's like, oh, well, now we define terms. Okay, so you haven't been consistent. You've just been showing up. So if I listen to this guy say, oh, I've been consistent, I'm like, okay, well, he's been consistent. That's not a problem. Well, now I realize, well, he's been showing up and he's been doing the wrong things. Well, then, now we have that defined. I want you guys to look at this. I'm not going to spend too long on this because I break this down perfectly in the Loom. After we go through this, what do we see? This guy's sitting here saying, I thought I wasn't doing enough, to be honest. I keep everything below as 2 sets to failure. Legs, leg press, lateral raise, all these things. Why is he sending us his split if he's worried about being skinny fat? Big dog, you can do no split and do an hour of cardio every day and eat in a calorie deficit, and you can not be skinny fat anymore. So what happens is now Paulo allows this guy to think that he is controlling the conversation and he knows where this needs to go. And that ends up in this guy never getting the result, because now this guy's just going to keep consistently going down the hole to nothingness. Whereas if we immediately call out the inconsistency, and then we ask him a question, then he'll confirm his opinion of, okay, well, yeah, I didn't mean consistent. I just mean I've been showing up all the time. Then now he says, oh, I've just been showing up. So he's admitted it hasn't been consistent because he's showing up, but he's not doing the right things. Then when he tells us his split, who already admitted that his split and what he was doing on a day-to-day basis wasn't correct? Did I tell him that, or did he admit it? He admitted, oh, I'm not being consistent. I'm just showing up, and these are the things I'm doing. We go deeper in this conversation. Since it did not get identified, this guy's hiding behind the fact of like, look at all these things that I've done. And Paulo can't now say, well, that's wrong, because the guy's going to be like, psh, what do you mean that's wrong? Of course but when he admits, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm still skinny fat, I haven't been consistent, I've been showing up the wrong way. Well, now, when he sends a split, he basically admits, everything I've been doing is wrong. So now we still have and what we're doing is we're adding context to the conversation to create 1, 2, or 3 answers. There's only a few answers they can have if you do this the right way, right? He's like, program hopping is what I've been doing wrong. So you guys see, because Paulo asked him, what do you think is holding you back? Now, this is fine. Paulo could have saved it here because the guy gave him all of this extra stuff, but it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to go on from there. He could have immediately called that out. This guy, I can tell within his first message what the rest of the conversation is going to be like. When I first read this, before Paulo even showed me the rest of the DMs, the very first thing I said is what I told you guys. How can you be stuck in the skinny fat stage, be wanting to put in muscle, and then say I'm training consistently? What does that even mean? That doesn't make any sense. You have no idea what you're doing. And then what tells me even more so that he doesn't know what he's doing, that he's hiding behind, is, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing at all, and I've been scared to message you and ask how much it costs for you to coach me on something I have no idea of what I actually even want to do. That's what this DM is. And we just have to show him that, because he realizes, oh my gosh, I can't hide behind my logic. A really qualified guy would be like, hey, I'm reaching out. I want to know how much your stuff is. I saw, I know it's definitely probably expensive. My budget is here. I know that you're the guy that I want to work with. I've seen your YouTube videos, but I'm really looking to do this. And then he can be like, right now I'm stuck in the skinny fat stage. I'm 5'6" and I look like this. Here's a picture of me. I really know I need to pack on some more muscle. I feel like I've been showing up every day, but it doesn't feel consistent. And we can know, oh wow, this guy's way deep in the funnel. This guy's watched top, mid, bottom, all of these different things. Those are the lay down closes. So you have both ends of the spectrum, the people that are the highest qualified because they have the most context of what you talk about, and the lowest qualified, which have the least context of what you talk about. And people will reach out at top funnel, people won't reach out for a year, and they'll reach out at bottom funnel, and they'll still have false beliefs that somebody who's barely consumed your content has had. But what it allows us to do is it allows us to know exactly how to respond to them and how accountable we can hold them, because if they haven't watched any content and they watch one viral video, how can you hold them accountable to your rules? That's like somebody having no idea who God is, doesn't even know the Bible exists, and you're sitting here trying to hold biblical principles against them like it's the objective truth. Well, it is, but in his world, he doesn't know that. It's just subjective because he has no context. So that's what we're trying to do here, and creating the core concepts does that. I know you guys are going to have more questions on how to do this, and I know I rambled for a little bit on that, but go watch it in the Loom video and you can see. You see how I just took literally a tiny little conversation and I just created the basis for literally 100 reels in like a bunch of YouTube videos, okay? So we take that tiny little thing, we can solve it, still book this guy on a call, but then what that tells me is, a follower doesn't understand something. And Paulo doesn't really have much content speaking to that exact thing. I've now been perfectly given the clear identity of the exact ICP I need to make a mid-funnel video to, because there's people like this in my audience, but he reached out to me and there's a false belief. So it's like, man, I just don't know how to make my messaging better to speak to my, well, we just figured it out. It's right there. There's 15 other people in your audience that are having this exact same problem who didn't even reach out. Right? And so what we want to do is we want to create a YouTube video to mimic that, okay? And I did this with Mike. We were on a coaching call. I'll give you guys an example of exactly how we did it. Dude reaches out, okay? Simplest way I can put it without talking for 20 minutes. Dude reaches out. Just from his language, I can tell he's trying to get Mike to be like, oh man, like, great job. He's trying to he's like, Mike, I've just changed my life. I had a divorce and then I got cheated on. She cheated on me with a business partner. I'm doing drugs. I'm doing all these things. Thankfully, I'm better. I'm back at it, and money's coming back in again. Like thanks to you, bro. I watch your content. And I think Mike had either not even answered the DM or been like, let's go, bro. And I was like, why'd you respond that way, Mike? And Mike's a high level dude. And Mike was like, I mean, he didn't really ask me anything. He just said he's been watching my content. I go, no, Mike, you don't understand. You and I have already talked about the fact that you have the most egotistical audience, because these guys are millionaires or they've built $1 million businesses. They don't want to come to you and go, Mike, please help me. I need help, brother. You're a better man than me. They're not going to do that, right? So a lot of them are going to indirectly reach out. Most people who reach out to me, they reach out the same way, okay? You have to see the underlying pain. This is like calling your bank and them knowing what you're calling about simply because why they care and they've been monitoring your activity, okay? If you care about the person, you should be able to read their pattern and figure it out. And this actually takes way less time than just sending a bunch of DMs and setting up mini chat and just answering everybody that comes into your funnel, okay? So what Mike then did is I looked and I go, Mike, we've reviewed 20 DMs already today, and every single dude who's actually successful, who's I was like, what have they all done? And about their revenue. He's like, oh, they tell me I'm a $20 million founder, $10 million founder, $5 million business. I make $1 million a year. And I go, what did this guy say at the end of his message? He was like, the money's coming back in again. We're doing good. And I go, if this guy was making a bunch of money again and he was proud of it, you think he would have said the money's coming back in again? Or he would have been like, I'm back to $5 million. Nobody's made a bigger business than you, Mike. You built a $300 million business. So they're not going to hide their finances. He's going to tell you. I was like, this guy is reaching out because he wants to act like he's gotten better, but he knows deep down he hasn't actually gotten better, but he doesn't have the ego to do it. And so he's basically screaming from the inside, Mike, please help me. I don't know what's going wrong, but he's projecting it with his ego. And if you truly understand your offer and you actually care, and at the end of the day, being a coach is being someone who cares and wanting to, we are personal development, we are leaders first. That's what every single, look at Tony Robbins, Myron Golden, all these people. It starts here and it goes all the way down to the base forms of behavior in human psychology, right? And so I asked Mike, I go, this guy said, he's not proud of his revenue, so he's not fixed. And I go, Mike, he wouldn't be reaching out if he just to be like, hey, thanks, bye. He's wanting something. And I go, well, you gotta read between the lines. And I'll try to get these DMs so I can show you. Mike's on a flight to Cali right now, but it'd be so nice if I could show you. The guy literally snuck in there tiny. He snitched on himself. He was like, everything's better, business is booming, all these things. It's like, I moved to Thailand to get away from all those vices, and I've been so much more locked in. It's a little distracting sometimes because there's still all of those parties out there, but I'm, I haven't given in. And I go, Mike, I was like, when you moved to Marbella to get away from your friends, when you're partying and you're doing drugs, I'm like, this is the external, but the problem is actually the internal core concept that he has, because this guy, he looked at his life and he was like, oh, I'm partying, I'm doing drugs, I got cheated on, I'm doing all these things. I'll move locations and then I'll become better. So what he did was, there was an internal problem with himself, and he decided, it's easier for me to blame the external. It's my environment. So he didn't take accountability, he moved locations. And I go, Mike, I was like, for somebody that's addicted to drugs, I was like, Mike, right now, I was like, do you have any desire ever to go out, like party and like do cocaine or like drink alcohol? He's like, no. And he's like, bro, I could be in a room of like strippers and people doing cocaine and drinking alcohol. I have no desire. And I'm like, right. I go, if someone's truly beaten in addiction, do they even have the slightest desire to go and do that thing? He was like, no. I go, aha, so where's the false belief here that this guy said? He moved to Thailand, and this tells us everything. He moved to Thailand because he blamed his environment instead of himself. And so the void was still there. He had a little bit of discipline and willpower, but he feels it crashing down. And I bet if you dig into it, you'll find out that he's not actually as good as he says he is, and he was looking for you to call it out. You need to show him that he tried to replace the external and thought that would fix the internal, and that if he was truly over these things, he would be able to stay in the same exact city and he would have no temptation or no desire. And Mike's like, and I'm like, Mike, did you experience this? And he's like, bro, absolutely. When I moved from Stockholm to move to Marbella, I moved to get away from all these friends and all these things, and I did, but I replaced it with a woman who was the exact same. And I ended up falling asleep and waking up every morning next to a woman who literally caused the exact same damage in my life, just repackaged. And I go, aha, here is the cycle of despair that I used to talk about when I was making my aggression talk videos on YouTube that happens in every single piece of personal development. What happens is you put a Band-Aid solution because you're blind to the real problem, right? You fix the symptom, right? But you don't fix the actual pain point, and then it's good for a little bit, and then it breaks again. And then you go look for another symptom solution, and it's good for a little bit, and then it breaks again. You never actually fix the root cause. And he goes, and I go, so why would you not call that out within this guy if you see it, and then you show him how the same exact thing happened when you moved from Stockholm to Marbella, and even in Marbella, everything crashed, and you had to go through the same thing again, and it wasn't until you went from external and you looked internal, again, of the core concepts, and you filled that void with the personal development, believing in yourself, actually, not craving to fill that hole with meaninglessness, that it actually changed. And then the external environment actually helped you. And then we respond to that, and then the guy's belief is shifted, and then what happens is Mike doesn't have a YouTube video about that. And so Mike's sitting here being like, I don't know what to make YouTube videos about. And it's like, well, there's one right there about your story, and the audience taught us their awareness of it, and we use our brain and our core concepts to reverse engineer what's going on, right? This is some heavy stuff, but if you guys look at this, and as you guys have listened over the past, you'll realize it's really just basic being truthful and holding people accountable and not trying to play these little games and all that. This is the absolute best. What is the best way to make money? You guys hear it all the time, but most people don't actually live by it. If I can help enough people get what they want, I will get what I want. Well, if Mike's actually trying to help this guy get what he wants, Mike's gonna go, I see the problem, let me fix it, instead of thinking about, let me make money. And what happens? You end up making money from the guy because you actually help him. That's what we're trying to do here, okay? So then we take that, and now we're gonna make a YouTube video from it, okay? We follow this simple, and all these new YouTube video structures are gonna be added to the new Scale Info course that we have. This is all you need for now to see, okay? We have hook, body, and then next step, okay? So in the hook, we wanna grab attention. I call it negative hook and negative problem. What do I mean by negative hook? I mean, as you create the hook, you put a negative connotation to it so that people understand and they feel this identity called out, okay? So we see the pattern that's causing the blind problem, like we just did in the DMs. We create a logical prison so that they're held to their own laws. We saw it here. The guy can no longer say, no, Mike, you don't understand. I have gotten better, because he already admitted that he went to Thailand because he didn't want to face the accountability, and Mike shows how the same thing happened in them. Then, once they're held to their own laws, they can't make an excuse anymore. They have an epiphany of what's actually gone wrong. They realize that they are stacking things on top, right? The thing that just popped up into my mind, okay? It's like a relationship, okay? Where a man is going from woman to woman to woman to woman to woman to woman to woman, thinking that the better sexual life they have, the more it's going to fix these problems, and it always crashes and burns every time. And every next girl gets like freakier and crazier and all these things. This is going to fix the problem. This is going to fix the problem. And he never actually takes the accountability of understanding that sex is the tiny little physical box on top of the emotional and the spiritual and the mental that actually makes the physical mean something and actually becomes heavy. And until he becomes aware of that, he can never solve the problem. Doesn't matter how many girls he sleeps with. Okay? Same exact thing here. Until they see what they missed, until they see the steps that they're skipping, they can never ever have the solution. Even if you give them your program right now while they're in your DMs, without you saying anything else to them, they wouldn't gain success. And that's the reality that you guys need to understand. If I gave the belief has to shift first in order for your program to even work. That's the thing that happens. There's more than a monetary transaction. There needs to be a transaction of what this person is doing. Whereas almost every other product, if Tywin goes and he buys a car right now, Tywin could be 50 pounds overweight, okay, in 10 years ago, all these things be wrong with him. And if, guess what? The Tywin who's standing in front of me right now, absolute fucking beast, goes and buys a car, and the Tywin 10 years ago has the same amount of money, and he goes and buys a car. They both have the exact same car. Simple as that. Simple as that. But if Tywin goes and he buys a business coaching program, and Tywin 10 years ago buys a business coaching program, one of them, this is terrible, the other one executes because he has the skill and he's built the ability to execute on the information, whereas Tywin 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago hasn't built the skill to even make the information usable yet. Therefore, he can't even see it. So the belief needs to be broken first so that accountability can be taken, so that the necessary steps to create the skill can be had. The skill can actually then reach the level of what it needs to so that information can be applied, and then the process starts. And if you guys can think about this with every single person, there you go. And that's why the beginning of your program, just like mine, why do we talk about mindset in the beginning? Because you need to learn the actual skill of speaking, awareness of yourself, how to speak, how to understand your story. Because if I just give you the system, nothing happens, because you have to have the equivalent skill to execute on it, okay? So as we do that in the DMs, we mimic it in the YouTube. We create the epiphany, and we show them why everything else has never worked, and now there's light shined on me and my program as the missing piece, and it finally becomes visible. Oh my God, I see why everything else I've done hasn't worked. So if I'm Mike, negative hook to grab attention, negative problem, okay? Every single business owner I've ever met who's built a $100 million business ends up creating a future of torment and hell. And this is why everyone says success will ruin you, fame will ruin you, money will ruin you. It doesn't have to be that way, but it just so happens to be that every dollar that you gain, I'm creating this off the top of my head as if I was Mike making a YouTube video speaking to my ICP. Every single dollar that you make creates more and more and more and more delusion that the amount of money in your bank account equals how good and how developed of a person you are, rather than the habits and the way that you live on a day-to-day basis. And as that happens, even the strongest men get destroyed by this, because you start to base your life off of opposite things that built your business. The only thing that got you to where you are today is by going opposite of what the world thinks, by going opposite of what was logical, opposite of what was easy, opposite of what was simple. Yet now that you've made $100 million in your business, you cheat on your wife, but the world sees you as a $100 million business owner and goes, wow, this guy's successful. So you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, yeah, I cheat on my wife, but I built a $100 million business. I'm successful. You went from someone who got the result you wanted by going what's opposite of the world to now somebody who has it, who's become blind to the problems because they now quantify themselves the way that the rest of the world does. And what that does is it creates an ego that is building. What's Mike's second core concept? It's the reckoning. That every single thing that you do, the more money you make, every single one of these negative problems that you have in your life that you consistently do over and over and over again, and you tell yourself, oh, it's fine, I deserve to be able to do this. What happens is you start to create this punishment, and it's inevitable. You create this inevitable punishment over and 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 over again. And eventually, every single man, if they don't face it, you're gonna lose your business. You're gonna lose your kids. You're gonna lose, you're gonna lose yourself. You're gonna die. You're gonna lose the relationship that you love the most. All these things, you create this reckoning, right? So Mike tells then his story. Oh, how this happened, how I realized this. I moved from Stockholm to Marbella to get away from my friends that were forcing me to drink. He's literally talking about his core concepts. If you go and you watch this, and this is the same example I gave him. If you go and you watch his Instagram, you'll start to see how all these things will actually connect, and you see all the coaching calls that we've done. Mind you, Mike's in my $50,000 program. He paid me $50,000. Okay? He had a $50,000 day a couple of days after doing that. He had 400,000 followers almost already. When he came to me, he was only making $40,000 a month. Then within boom, a couple weeks, because it had nothing to do with the followers. The followers that he had was great, but even still, it takes time to build this because we have to go back and we have to take all these pieces of foundation so they can match the level of the system that I'm integrating within his business, right? And so the followers were great, but he had to create this funnel of understanding how to convert these people, what to do, how to do these. He just signed a client for $75K. Crazy. $75K. Sick, right? And so if we look at this, then we go, I'm understanding more about this ICP. So after I teach that lesson using my story, then I'm not talking about, hey guys, here's what I did wrong, and here's what you're doing wrong, and here's how you fix it. I'm now, where is all the value? The value lies in me extrapolating on what was the impact of me missing that lesson within my life. And guys, I had to suffer punishment. I now have a child with a woman that I'm divorced to, and I have to still go see her. I resent seeing her. I have to, have all this pain, court battles in custody, and all of these things simply because, and I'm still facing that today, even after I've completely changed my whole life, simply because, why? Because I was too scared to face the most difficult decision, which was to take accountability and say, oh no, my friends and the place that I live and these people around me partying are not the reason that I have lost myself. I am the reason that I have lost myself. Because if I look in the mirror and I go, I am the reason I have lost myself, it doesn't matter if I built this business, I'm actively destroying myself, then what happens? I have to wake up every single day and rebuild the man that I am, rebuild the way that I think, rebuild my habits. And then, naturally, the friends dissipate and fall apart. Naturally, any environment that I go into, I can operate in. So I start to gain location freedom, time freedom. I start to become this new man again. Oh, and I have $100 million, and because I faced the punishment early, I didn't have to lose my entire business, and I can fix my life and all these things. And then he teaches that. And then, most value, after you talk about the impact of the missed lesson and how he could have learned it earlier, because again, you're trying to tell these people, hey, I had to fuck this up so many times. See what I did not see. You talk about the impact of the missed lesson. So many of you guys, you're like, here's a lesson that I learned. Okay, and now here's how we're going to fix it. Most of the value sits in you extrapolating and spending time talking about what was the impact of you missing that lesson and how you could have fixed it sooner and why your brain decided to ignore it. That's it, okay? Then we talk about what is the positive change of awareness. Well, the positive change of the awareness was I didn't have to move to Marbella. I wouldn't have met that woman. I would have fixed my business before I went down to all the way having $1,000 in my bank account. You start to talk about all of these pain reversing symptoms that happen, and then what happens? Now the person is in their mind going, holy shit, I'm aware of all these things. Mike has lived these things. Mike is inside of my brain. Mike is literally explaining my thought process, and he's showing me things inside of myself that I was not even aware of. This must be the guy that is there to fix my life, because he must be qualified since he's literally been through this and he can describe me this way. And then what happens next is their brain offers up the thought and it goes, well, shit, how do I become aware of that on a day-to-day basis and actually start to change? And that's when the end of your video actually starts going into the bridge of, and this is what I do, and this is what I teach now, and this is where my program has come from. And no one even actually cares what the steps are. They just want to buy the steps, because if you describe this the right way, they don't need to know the steps, because they realize subconsciously, I'm not even a good judge of knowing, are these the steps that I need or not? Because I was missing all of these things, and you see all these things. Fuck, whatever you tell me, it must be the thing that's going to work. That's what we're trying to create. And then you have a good program, and then it's massive, right? So again, same thing in the DMs, and we mimic it here. See the pattern that's causing the blind problem, create a logical prison so that they're held to their own laws. Then we create an epiphany as to why everything else has never worked. What is that? That is the impact of the missed lesson. And then the positive change of awareness, and then we shine the light on the solution, okay? So the same exact thing. In these YouTube videos, and we'll have a specific YouTube video one later. We have YouTube videos that are more top of funnel, and we have YouTube videos that are more mid to bottom of funnel, okay? Just like Instagram stories, most of the YouTube videos are going to be used as just mid to bottom of funnel. Instagram stories are never top of funnel. They're always mid to bottom of funnel, because no one top of funnel is watching or caring about your stories. That's why you have way less story views on your stories constantly, especially as you post more. Because the more stories you post, the more you're only speaking to that mid to bottom of funnel audience that's already in their conversion process, which is why it's so important, right? Oh, my story views are low. Yeah, well, that's because you need to post better top funnel and into mid funnel content, so more qualified people will actually go watch your stories, right? But we've talked about that, and I'll do that again another day, okay? So we have core concept one, okay? Wes was really, 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 really good at the beginning of these videos of going in and creating the grab attention and amplifying the negative problem, okay? So I took a screenshot from one of these videos, right? It says, you identify the core concept that the viewer finds himself struggling in, okay? You identify that scenario. What I mean by identify is a good thought process here. My mom always used to say this about the Bible. I used this on my call with Alex today, okay? She would always say, the Bible is descriptive, it's not prescriptive, okay? What that means is, if somebody knows nothing about, people will argue, like, why would they, David was a rapist, and, all these people, all these, like, different, like, Solomon was a womanizer and had all these wives and did all these things. It's like, yeah, that's the point, because we're all humans, and we're all screwed up human beings. Imagine if the Bible was just what people think. It was just a story of a bunch of, like, people who think they're too good and they never do anything wrong, and we're expected to be like these people, right? It's like, that's not realistic at all. That's the whole opposite of what's going on, okay? And it's the same thing. Why? Because humans do not learn by being labeled. We don't want to fit into labels. We fit ourselves into labels through relation and behaviors, okay? So if you know nothing about politics at all, and you look and you are going to, like, choose, like, which political side are you gonna be on? It's two sides of the same bird at the end of the day, and you look at, like, the outcome, most people would fit themselves in the opposite of the party that they are actually in, because it's not about labeling, it's about describing to where you actually see what the impact is, okay? Content is the same way. So many of you guys are labeling. Today I did a call with Alex, okay? And he opened up his video by being like, I used to think that a successful mobile detailing business was, a fully booked out calendar, and I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel. I didn't know where my next job was coming from, okay? If that is the generalized label of the ICP that we're wanting to speak to, don't prescribe that label, describe it. Why did you think that a fully booked out calendar equaled a successful business. I don't want to watch a YouTube video where the intro tells me who I am. I want to watch a YouTube video that makes me go, oh my God, that's exactly how I'm thinking right now. Because when you say, I used to think, if I sit here and I say, man, I used to think that you didn't need to wake up early to be successful. And because of that, I wasn't able to, beat my competition and do that. It's like, okay, if that's the generalized ICP, what's a better way to speak to that? I talk about the mindset that I was in and the thoughts that I had that actually describe what that feeling of thinking I don't need to wake up early to be successful is. I can use a story from my life and be like, I remember when I first decided to, start my business, and I didn't really change anything. I just had a ton of motivation. I had a ton of motivation, a ton, okay? And I'm going through my day, I'm doing these things, and as I'm starting to burn out from this motivation, and I'm starting to kind of lose sight of what I was doing. I was starting to be like, maybe making $1 million isn't realistic. Maybe getting that car isn't realistic. I started to realize, I have so far that I need to go to actually get these goals, and it started to demoralize me. I started to feel like, it almost seemed like the goals that seemed so close when I first got motivated about them started to get farther and farther away every day, and I started to realize, God, I don't have enough time in the day to get these things done. But I didn't change anything. And I kept doing the same thing. My goals started getting farther and farther and farther away. I didn't change anything. And then I got to the point where for the first time since starting my business, I started to feel like, man, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I should just quit. Maybe I'm not cut out for this, right? And I struggled with that for an entire day. I wanted to hold on, but I wanted to quit. And I'm just running through my mind, what are things I can do to make this easier? What are things I can do to make this easier? And then I finally looked at myself, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna write down all of the things that I've done to give me an advantage to make my goals seem closer. And I picked up my pen and I picked up, my paper, and I'm writing down all these goals, and I'm writing down all the steps that I've done, and I realized I thought about them, and I thought about, changing, and then I thought about the business plan, and I listened to a couple podcasts, and then I thought about all the money that I was going to make, and I thought about the life that I was going to live, and I thought about everything that I wanted to enjoy, but nothing that I actually needed to do, or none of the steps that I actually need to add to my life. And I realized, holy shit, I've done nothing but just think about what I want to achieve. I haven't sacrificed or changed a single thing about my life. And so I took the very first thing that I was struggling with, and I go, okay, I don't have enough time in the day. And I'm like, well, what have I done to change that? And I go, I slept till 11 this morning. And I'm complaining about not having enough time. Okay, I need to start waking up early. Now I've described how much more does that get you guys in tune. I mean, this is just off the top of my head. I'm not even living in that time period anymore. How much, and that's on the spot, how much more does that describe the scenario of I realized I needed to start waking up early to the person who's in that to go, damn, why didn't I think about that? Or that's exactly how I feel, versus me going, at the beginning, I used to think I didn't need to wake up early. I thought it was stupid. But now I've realized that waking up before, this is bullshit. Nobody wants to listen to this, okay? So be descriptive, not prescriptive, all right? Humans don't learn from labels. They learn through relations and behaviors and stories that are personally tied to what we do. So instead of stating the outcome that you want the person to feel, instead of, stating the current state, describe the feeling that creates the outcome. Describe the feeling that creates the current state. Wes would always do a great job of doing this. You can see here, right, in the beginning of his little talking videos that he would do on YouTube, and this is a huge reason, as his downfall started, he posted on YouTube 3 videos a day, literally every single day for 6 years, and then tiny little things. So he stopped waking up at 2:45. Then he stopped posting YouTube videos 3 times a week. He started breaking his own principles that he would teach within business, and so everything broke in and of itself, right? But he was great at doing these. And you can see in this little quote, he said, when you guys believe that you can beat this, that's when you've lost. that's when it's over, right? And what he was talking about is he was talking about, this entropy that humans experience, and how every single day, like, our lesser self is fighting for control, and it's usually stronger than the highest version of ourselves, because we always feed the lesser version of ourselves. So you try to fight the lesser version of yourself with discipline, but discipline comes from the highest version. And he's like, you sit here and you genuinely think that you can beat this. He's like, no. That's when you've lost. He's like, what you have to do is you have to proactively fight it. You don't fight not wanting to wake up early when you're in the bed fighting trying to wake up early. You fight it the night before. You fight it the week before. You fight it the month before. You keep that from ever happening. You go to bed early. You set your goals. You solve anything that would make you not want to face the world. You create this reality that you want to live in. You proactively solve these things. And so he labeled this person in a descriptive way where they're like, wait, when I try to beat it with discipline, that's when I lose? I thought that was the whole point. And now they're like, what am I missing? And then he describes this and they're like, fuck, I didn't think about it that way. They feel described and now they want to listen. Then we go into core concept 2, which is the shift of the identity, okay? Identify where the incongruence lies between where your prospect state of mind is at and where they need to be in order to be able to act on the solution that you sell, okay? So if people do not understand that they need to proactively fight this, and they always try, if they join, a personal development program, and they try to fight the early morning wake up every single time in the early morning without doing anything the night before, are they ever going to be able to use that solution of waking up early to make their life better? No. So you can tell them all you want, wake up early, 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 wake up early. But if you do not find and identify to them the incongruence between where their state of mind is and where it actually needs to be in order to act on the thing that's going to make them better, they watch your content, and guess what? Your content is invaluable because it didn't do anything in their life, okay? So this requires you to really, really pinpoint how this thing is a problem and why it keeps occurring in their life. The why should usually focus on why it's so hard to fight, why it's so difficult to notice, or why it seems harmless to you in the moment. Things that are terrible for you, like cheating on your wife, watching porn, all these things. Everyone knows this is bad, but then once you're in the moment, why is it so hard to fight? Why can't you be aware of how much it's going to destroy your life? And why does your brain convince you that it's harmless? Those are the things that people want to know. Nobody cares about you telling them, put a time limit thing on your phone. Don't go on Instagram and see these things. You have to proactively fight these things so that your brain never even falls into that temptation. And then lastly, the third core concept, this is the system of actually solving it that is now accessible. Most of you guys make videos simply just about one concept on YouTube. The whole point about YouTube is usually all three of the concepts going through the entire life cycle, finding where they're at. It doesn't have to always start with one. It can start with 2, and then go to 1, and then go to 3. It can start with 3, and then go to 1, and then go to 2, right? Because some people think that they need the system because they think the system's going to fix it. However, they have not actually built the skill or the awareness in order to apply the system, so that doesn't work. And that's the conversion process versus Reels, as we know, top of funnel, it's usually just one concept. Mid-funnel, it's like one concept plus a little bit of like relation, right? And then conversion, it's usually just one concept to the next, one identity to the next, okay? That's the difference between this and long form. That's why long form works so well. And stories are cousins of YouTube videos, right? So the beginning of the day, it starts in one concept mid-funnel and it takes them bottom funnel as we go through to the next, right? So we take them from the system that they think they need of, you need to wake up at 4 a.m. and have a personal development routine, and we push them through into realizing, oh my God, I have the identity shift of I'm only trying to apply this thing early in the morning versus fighting it before. Holy crap, I see what I've been doing wrong. Now you're the person that taught them that, they had the epiphany, and you are the only person that they ever want to buy from. That's how we create these YouTube videos, right? And then we go, and then we package it the right way, okay? If we look at this, it's like the thumbnail must speak to a desired emotion so that the viewer has a reason and motivation to shift their focus to the title, okay? YouTube is a packaging platform, okay? We do not go on YouTube. How many of you guys go on YouTube? No one really watches YouTube Shorts, okay? So if you watch YouTube Shorts, like, Not that many people actually sit and scroll YouTube Shorts on their phone, right? Some people might, fine, but the majority of people aren't really doing that, okay? Especially the people that you're going to convert. If you open up YouTube, how many of you guys just doom scroll on the homepage on YouTube? Literally no one. I don't think I've ever met anyone that just goes on the YouTube homepage and doom scrolls. How many of you guys open up your Instagram and you just scroll and scroll and scroll? Every single person. That's what we do. That's literally what it's designed for. So YouTube is all about packaging because we always go on YouTube looking for something specific. I'm looking for this specific video. I want this music. I want this personal development podcast that's like David Goggins. We know what we're looking for, and then we look for a package that seems like it's going to solve this desire. So that's why I immediately look and I scan the homepage for thumbnails. And I see thumbnails. I just cheated on my wife and I've done it 3 times and I feel like I'm the worst person in the world. And then I look into Mike's eyes and I see it says I cheated 10 times. It's like, holy shit, this dude's a worse guy than me. And then my eyes immediately go and look down. I never knew cheating would cost me this. Damn, I need to click this video. Dang, I've lost so many things that I never knew. What's this guy gonna teach me? He must have been through my thing, okay? He must have been through what I've been through, okay? So the thumbnail spikes desired emotion and it gives the viewer a reason to shift their focus to the title. Sad. If somebody is sad, this is more top funnel and he speaks to a little bit of a different ICP, but I like to use people from different industries, right? I look at this huge jacked guy that looks like he should know a lot about life is like sad and he looks like he's like something's wrong. So if I'm sad and depressed and I feel like I'm behind, I'm looking for like this older brother mentor type person. I see this and it says when you feel like you're behind, I'm like, wow, let me watch this because this is going to give me the solution that I actually need, okay? And then how do we plug the system together? After we've created the YouTube video and we've sat down and we've done this, okay? Now what our goal is okay, if I had a conversation with a guy and let's say I saw that there was that false belief, I talked to him, I go back later, let's say I'm one of you, I go back and I see all these times where I didn't call out the false belief and it was a qualified lead and he left me on red or he didn't book on the calendar or he didn't continue with our conversation. I realized, well, I missed creating this epiphany. I missed making it clear for them. Then we hit them up. We ask them how that situation's going. We get them to kind of state their opinion again. And then we break that belief and then we tell them, yo, I actually made, instead of trying to put them on a call without them actually changing what's happened, which I don't say, I say this literally, but I say this not literally because you're not aware of it, but you are a bad person if you try to do that because they can't even execute on the thing that they're buying from you if you don't fix this, okay? Then, bro, I made something specifically for you because for some reason I was thinking about you and I reread this DM and I thought about how you moved and it reminded me of when I moved from Stockholm to Marbella and this exact same thing happened with this woman that I went through. And so I made this video specifically for you. It's 45 minutes. I put it on YouTube. It's really, really going to help you with this situation. But if you're not, it's 45 minutes long. I really want you to focus on it and watch the whole thing. So if you're not going to watch it, just tell me you're not. I'm not even going to send it to you. But if you were actually serious about, wanting to fix this, this is probably going to be the only video that you need to watch in order for you to start understanding how you're going to, and then you just restate the outcome that they want to them. And 99% of the time, if they've watched any of your content, any of your stories, anything, oh my God, absolutely. You're going to give me something specifically for me for free? Wow. And what do? They pay you with your time. They get more nurtured. They understand your system now on the back of a false belief being broken. So now they have the right belief. And then you send it to them. You say, watch the whole thing. Hit me up when you're done. Then if they watch the whole thing after that's happened and their belief has been broken, mind you, if you send the resource without breaking their belief, the resource is invaluable and they're never going to hit you up. That's why people send tons of lead magnets and mostly unquality shit leads ever respond. And the good leads, you have to be like, hey, did you watch the video? Hey man, circling back. How are things going? Because there's zero context of how I should actually consume this. So I'm watching it with the same exact false belief. I have on blue light, I have on blue colored glasses. And in order to understand this video, I have to have red glasses. And the blue glasses weren't taken off. And you're asking me if I see the video being red. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? You sound like an idiot. And you sound like you want to take my money. Okay? So that's what we do there. And once we've done that, and we've sent that to those people, what's the goal? How do we disperse this to more people that are just like that? So we take the same flow we just created in the YouTube video, and now we've had a really, really good rep, and we want to create a story flow that gets people to reach out and ask me for that video. What you guys are seeing here, and as I teach you this, is you see the full circle system. So it's top funnel reels, mid funnel angles, bottom funnel angles. From those angles, people reach out about topics. You have conversations. Some people you book, some people you close, some people leave you on red, some people you realize, oh my God, I haven't even addressed this false belief that they have in your content. You post more of that content. You see how people respond to that content, the content that does well, the people that respond well to it. Then you make these YouTube videos using this structure. Then you put it on your stories. You create the sales assets. The more of those same people who already bought or already reached out to you, reach out to you looking for the thing. Their belief breaks. You have more DM conversations, teaches you more and more deeply about what you need to do, how to speak to the people. You post YouTube videos, you have ideas, clients get success, you understand more about how you need to make better content, and it's literally just this self-evolving ball of behaviors, beliefs, understanding, and it makes you seem like you have some autistic superpower or like you're some psychological wizard because you get in people's DMs and you talk to people on coaching calls and they're like, how do you know that? How do you? And it's just like, I studied, bro. Simple. I genuinely looked at these things, right? And so you never need to, when there's never a problem, I will say this, okay? I'll say, this is the one thing that I will say that will maybe might make me seem egotistical, but it's simply because of this. In the last 2 years, I have not once, I've had problems, I've had, struggles. I've had so many things that, I've had times where I've not executed the way that I've needed to execute. I've had things that have gone wrong. I've had, confusion, all these things in my life. Not once have I ever said or thought or felt the pain of going, I don't know what's wrong in my business or what I need to do to get to the next level. Have not had that thought one time. So what happens is, because I understand all of this, the problem is always clear to me, and I can never ever operate in a state of pain of being like, man, I just, and that leads me into disaster, which is why I've been able to be so consistent and continue to build the exact same thing, because I have the responsibility and the accountability is reflected back to me every single time, and I haven't been posting the right stories. I haven't been answering these DMs the right way. I haven't posted enough YouTube videos. I can never ever go look and be like, maybe I need to change my method. That's why you see all of these other coaches. There's nobody that you can really go find anymore, and you look at them, and for the last 4 years, all they've done is just continue to stack building blocks on the same tower of the same system that they're building. It's always something new, and then this has changed, and then, this new AI thing, and then to this, and then to this, and it's just constantly got to go grab a new audience, got to go reprove I'm trustworthy to people, instead of stacking and building the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over again, okay? And that's what I want you guys to be able to do. So this last part, I'm going to go through quickly because I really went in depth on it in the Loom video, and I know you guys are cognitively worn down a little bit because this is a lot, but that's why I'm putting the Miro there, and I put the Loom for you guys to go and rewatch it after, okay? So what we want to do, and this is a reminder, and this is a couple of these things I stole from the new story blueprint system, so you guys will see some of these things, but it's good, right? When we have the 5 story pillars, we can also look at them as 5 story lenses, okay? And this is the way that we want to think about doing this. The goal is to create a repeatable system of attention, nurturing, and conversion that can be quantified with data and scaled, as I just explained, okay? So we have the 5 story lenses, okay? And I say here, shifting belief is the core foundation of the stories method. Every day, you must create new angles around your core concepts, which are repeatable lenses. And these 5 lenses should condition, nurture, and break the beliefs of your audience. So every single day, this creates this focus for these videos. If you post push-ups in the morning like Bennett, me and Bennett did an in-person session you guys are gonna be able to watch on YouTube. Crazy, where he was like, bro, this is massive. Because you'll see, people will do their morning story. Even me, I struggled with this. 6 months, 8 months, a year. Dude, I've been doing push-ups for you. Like, what's the point of it? I'm just kind of like sticking to it now. I don't know ways to like creatively change and then tie it back into my offer. When you understand the lenses and you understand your core concepts, every single morning, it's just a new way to literally just anchor the beginning of those stories and know exactly what to do. So if you're making supplements in the morning and it's 4 a.m. and you're posting a Bible verse and you got your shirt off in the kitchen, it's dope when you start doing it again, but after a year of doing it, you're just like, fuck, like, what's the point of me even doing this anymore? I'm kind of like, it's just like I'm just showing up. But once you start to understand, today am I building personal proof that I'm showing up? Today, am I helping people overcome some type of pain that I've gone? Today, am I building desire of the discipline? Today, am I handling some type of objection or belief that I had on the sales call yesterday? Today, am I building social proof about how I wake up now at 4 a.m., but the next story is going to be talking about all the times where I tried to do it before and I was fat and out of shape and didn't like myself? Bang. And so every single week and every single day, you're just recycling all these new lenses within your core concepts through the same exact pillars, and it makes your content seem like it's never, ever, ever the same, and it's always interesting, and you always have new ideas, but it's anchored in this direction of your content, okay? So every day you just grab one of these lenses, paired with one of your core concepts, and you extrapolate, okay? You can confront their positioning, you can confront their, an objection, you can confront the friction, right? Don't mix all of these different lenses and their extrapolations together. This is where most people fail within the 15 stories, okay? They try to mix a million different things, and then it just seems like a big glob of a bunch of different stuff. You should be able to draw a line of pattern through your 15 stories in the day and relate how do all of these stack on top of each other like building blocks instead of just being scattered all over the ground. And that's what a lot of you guys don't understand, okay? Because I haven't taught it, but because you aren't constantly every single day looking and after you doing the reps, watch film on how you perform during the day. What I do, how are my stories taken? Who answered? Who responded? You're not actually looking at these things that you're doing. So you wonder why you get to the point where it's like you kind of lose the process because you haven't held yourself accountable to the line of where you're supposed to be, okay? So because most people mix all of these different lenses, right? They're trying to prove positioning, and then the next stories are trying to build connection, and then at the same time, they're trying to handle an objection, and then the viewer gets confused, and they don't even know what they're watching anymore, and then you also get confused because you lose track of why you're even posting the stories, and it ends up looking like you're just yapping all day long, hence why they call course sellers yappers, because it's a bunch of heebie-jeebie stuff that there's zero intention behind it, right? And then too much mixture of this, as I said, it leads to confusion, and volume only works when it has intention and purpose behind it, okay? Repetition wills belief, and it conditions your audience, but you have to understand that we're conditioning them and we're creating these beliefs so that they start to think on our terms. We're creating this controlled environment, but it's almost impossible to condition multiple different things at once if you don't understand how the system works, right? So it's like if someone doesn't even think that your life is what they desire, and you're trying to then stack authority, and you haven't even gotten the desire part first, it's like, why does this not, we can't gain authority over somebody if you don't have something that they see that they actually want, right? So it's like, well, it's not working. No, you're not working because you're not actually looking at the intention of how the audience views it, okay? So we're reminded of these, and one thing that I'll say is we also have purposes, as I call them. So these seem like they can be the same, right? Connection, niche, authority, and sales. How I distinguish them is lenses add focus to the story flow, and intentions or a purpose directs the outcome, okay? So think with the lenses, what are we using versus with a purpose, it's what is the goal or what are we doing, right? So let's say I'm posting my morning push-ups, okay? And I'm gonna use the lens of desire or outcome, but with the goal of connection. So in the morning, I'm posting my 4 a.m. push-ups and I'm showing my physique, the discipline. I'm outside, it's 4 a.m, everybody's asleep. I'm building that masculine competitive drive, right? I'm using desire and outcome of I have the life that these people want in order to what? Build connection. How would I then take the desire and outcome and build connection? The fact that, I was once in your exact shoes, now I'm here, here's how I did it. Builds clarity and comfort. But I can also use desire and outcome and show the push-ups and show the same thing, but change it, and I can build authority. Same thing. I have the life that these people want in order to what? Build connection. How would I then take the desire and outcome and build connection? The fact that, I was once in your exact shoes, now I'm here, here's how I did it. Builds clarity and comfort. But I can also use desire and outcome and show the push-ups and show the same thing, but change it, and I can build authority. Same thing. I'm more disciplined than you, right? So the lens directs how we frame this story flow, and the purpose is what's the point, what's the outcome that it's supposed to do in the person's brain, okay? Purposes are the best way to focus the lens and create consistency, which allows you to repeat the same message and connect with the audience and build trust, gain authority, and sell every single day without running out of ideas and feeling like, you know, it's boring and you're doing it over and over and over and over and over again. Now, you stack this within the day on the macro level. These are all in the micro level of the tiny little intentions. On the macro level of the day of what core concept am I serving? Bro, you have so many variables and so many ways to understand how to speak to people, okay? So if I'm gonna do this story flow, okay, and I want you guys to watch the entire Loom video because it's really, really late, and I've gone for way longer than I said I was going to, but Mr. Free Value just cannot stop with the value. I'm gonna give you a little understanding of this, and then I would go take a break, watch this Loom, and execute. For me, it's 10:34 p.m. because I'm still in Greece, but for most of you guys, it's middle of the day, okay? So the lens for this one would obviously be, not the lens, the intention would obviously be, sales, or, what I could be doing here is I'm going for authority. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use probably a little bit of personal proof or an objection of the lens to do this. Hey, here's what most other coaches do. And then the purpose is to build authority so people reach out. And then obviously there's a call to value. They watch the YouTube video, and then because there's so much authority, then they eventually buy, okay? So I choose my purpose, authority of why my system is better, so they see my solution, they see that it solves their problem, okay? And this is how we do the story flow for doing a call to value. We have hook, problem, bridge, proof, next step. And what I want you guys to understand is the hook doesn't have to be one story. The problem doesn't have to be one. The problem can be three. And I would also, for most of you in the beginning, until you get to the point where you've really, really mastered this, I would do these talking heads and I would elaborate a lot more. I use this one just for simplicity, but you can see some examples that I put in the Loom that make it a little bit better, okay? So you meet them with emotion, take them through a story that immediately catches their focus. There's obviously a lot of context here because everyone knows every time I drop these long form YouTube videos that they're very, very valuable, and I give out better stuff than most coaches charge for. So I'm like, if you follow me in the last few months, don't make the mistake others have made in the past. I earned this name for a reason, right? Now, there's a very, very simple example. If you go watch the Loom, you'll see exactly how to do this, but we're meeting them with emotion, okay? The reason it immediately catches their focus is, again, my stories are super mid-funnel, so no one's watching this unless they know who I am. They've looked at my story, they're interested, what does Mr. Free Value mean? So they see this, and they've probably heard about any of the, the 8-hour course, the 3-hour course, all these things that I've dropped. Oh, wow, I want this video. They've seen it in the past, and so this has a massive amount of emotion and hook. They're like, oh my gosh, this video is here. What do I need to do to get it? Because that's like a part of my brand, okay? Then the problem. Relate the problem to them. What occurs? What's the false belief that allows the problem to occur? Why is the problem difficult? What does it impact? This has to make them understand why what they're currently believing is not going to work. This is the aha moment, okay? Again, this is very, 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 very under elaborated, especially for me, but I didn't want to put 13 stories and I couldn't put videos just in this one. So for ease of time, I did this, but I'll be able to give you guys some exact implementations of how to do this. I'm actually gonna do this tomorrow if I can get this video uploaded because I have terrible Wi-Fi. I'm so glad that this call has worked well. Then you guys will be able to see it, right? But I'm like, I created the most lethal and efficient system to scale your online business in 2026. Everyone talks about how the game is changing, but no one actually tells you why. It's almost comical because other so-called mentors don't even tell you how to fix it. They don't tell you how, they just expect you to pay them. So they tell you, oh, the game is broken, this is going on, you need to come to me to scale your business. So the point here with the problem is, why do I relate the problem to them? Because it's not me versus the viewer, it's me and the viewer versus the problem. All these other dudes, they're just trying to, hey, here's what's happening, here's why it's not working, don't worry, I'm on your side, I'm just gonna give the thing to you, right? Then you have the bridge, the epiphany, then you have the proof, and then the next step is what's most important here, okay? These aren't amazing examples because these two here, again, I just use this for simplicity of time. I've done dozens of these that are really, 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 really good, and I'll try to find them, but for sake of time, I want you to understand why this did well. My branding makes this bridge and proof so well because I've created messaging and I've created all of these pieces of context that make the thought process behind, the reason behind, right? This so valuable, whereas most people, their messaging isn't good enough to understand that. So I can type like this and be like, yo, my people actually think my resources are valuable and know that they are valuable versus people immediately just thinking, oh, you're just posting this, you're trying to get me into my DMs, because I actually give out good shit, right? And so it's like, if you think about Gary Vee, like the jab, jab, right hook, okay? Some of you guys, you don't even understand your core concepts the right way. You haven't posted enough YouTube resources. And then you might go do this. You're like, nobody DM'd me and asked for my YouTube video. Yeah, because you haven't in any way, shape, or form created a reputation where everything you put out makes the people be like, oh my God, I cannot miss this. And so they don't have any previous proof. So if you're not doing it in your reels and you're not doing it in your stories and they've watched one YouTube video and it wasn't even that great, why are they gonna go out of their way to DM you for a resource they don't even care about, right? This only works on the back of you mastering your core concepts and creating good content. Because if you go do this, and that's why I say you should master that for a month or two. But when you do have a lot of traffic, like this right here, as Mike masters this is going to take him to $350,000 a month, because he'll go this, immediately he'll get feedback, because as it goes to the next step, the biggest thing here is we're giving away that video that we just created, okay, in the DMs. They can DM you a keyword, they can DM you and ask for it. But what you have to do is you have to ask them for something in return, okay? Here's what a lot of people don't understand, and this is game, okay? Most of you guys try to go content, transaction. Why don't you go content, exchange, transaction? It's like immediately meeting somebody and going, yo, let's get married. Well, you should probably date first, you know what I'm saying? Give them an exchange, show them what transacting with you is like, okay? The reason I say this is, we give value in the concept. We build a reputation. People know our stuff is valuable. Then when we ask for something slightly, we're asking, hey, you're going to give me a little bit about you, which people don't want to give away. And then, because they're giving you leverage, and then I'm going to give you something that's going to help. Okay? And if you've created a good enough personal brand, then they have no problem giving you those things because they're getting the better end of the stick. Well, I tell you my problems real in the right way, and then you give me a thing that's going to help me understand them more, okay? So I said, how many clients, monthly revenue, current bottlenecks, and I'll get it sent over to you, okay? A lot of you guys in this position, you might be like, hey, tell me about, your training split, what your goals are, and then, what the number one thing you want to achieve this summer is, and I'll send it over to you. And somebody might respond, and they might be like, they might send the keyword, and you're like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, tell me about those things I said in the story. And they're like, bro, I want to be shredded and have abs. I want to bench 315, and then I want to do this. And you're like, sick, bro. Here's the video. You should check it out. Well, that's never going to work, or it's never going to do anything. The goal is people slide up, they send that, and you, hey, tell me about your situation. I have this, I have this, I have this. You have to then, well, what information do you actually need in order to give them context to make this video valuable? Well, if you made a video about getting in shape for the summer, and me and Bennett actually worked on this and we talked about this, and he was just sending out lead magnets to people, and then he's like, bro, like, why are these people not hitting me back? I'm like, because they have no context as to how this video actually serves them, and you don't even know either. So Bennett made a video, and then I just realized this in real time, I need to add this. Bennett made a video about how he stays shredded year round, and his training split, and how he has this athletic approach to training. And a dude sent him a keyword from a call to value in a video. Bennett immediately sent the video, and then the guy responds and he's like, hey, thanks, bro. Do you have any for like knee pain? And I'm like, Bennett, you see, and he said it like way later. I'm like, Bennett, you see, this guy reached out to you, you immediately send him the video. I go, why did he want this video? I go, can you tell me? He was like, I was like, no, like, without guessing, like, do you have any data to tell me what this guy actually wanted this video for? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, so you are a shitty person for sending him this video, because you don't even know if it's actually gonna help him. What if you just confused him, right? Bennett's a great person. Bennett's not a shitty person. Bennett's an amazing coach. But if you think about it logically, that's what's actually happening. It's simply just logical to somebody ask you for something. Well, I'm the person that knows how this is going to help you. If somebody responds and they say, I have 3 clients, I'm making, 15, 20K a month, and my bottleneck is I need more leads. If I send them one of my videos, I do not care about them and I only want their money. I would respond and be like, great, bro, and I would look for more data. If you're not a business coach or something like this, or you don't have pictures of somebody's physique, right? You need more data. I need more data for context. So I'm gonna look at their profile. If they tell me they're making 20K a month and they have 100,000 followers, and then they tell me they need leads, easiest thing ever. What do you mean you need more leads? I ask them a question to confirm their opinion. They say, well, I don't really get many inbound DMs and my videos do great, but I do a lot of cold outreach and I have a hard time converting people. I'm like, okay, so why do you think that that's a leads problem? Well, and they kind of will be, well, because if nobody's reaching out to me, how am I going to close clients? And I go, well, brother, you have 100,000 people in your audience. All of the leads are there. They're not reaching out to you because you don't have enough leads. They're not reaching out to you because you're not speaking to the leads. You have 100,000 leads. Your messaging is not correct, and they don't know why to see you as valuable. Oh, because if they would have watched the video, then they're sitting here thinking, I need more leads, instead of saying, oh, I need to speak to the leads the right way. So even if my video is valuable, without that belief shift, nothing happens. And they're like, whoa, well, how do I do that? Then we start having a little conversation. I can break maybe some more beliefs. And then I'm like, look, I'm going to send you this video. You need to watch and understand. Their belief has shifted. I send it to them. They message me after. Now it's easy to book a call. Anybody that doesn't message me back, they can just keep watching my stories on a day-to-day basis. You have to ask them for what they have, get their situation. Then you break the belief, you confirm their opinion, you hold them accountable, then you send them the video, and then you come back and you rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And eventually what this will look like is every single one of these concepts, you have a top of funnel runner, you have the core concept. The guys that are in my top program, we have all of these built out on Miro. You create top, mid, and bottom funnel variations of the exact same topic, right? The top of funnel need the least amount of context for the person to consume. The bottom funnel need the most amount of context. Some people convert somewhere in between, but this helps you understand what you need to do. Then you find what false belief happens and what is not clear within this journey of going from top to bottom funnel. What do they not understand? Where is there not authority? Where is it not clear that you are the best solution? Where do they not see where they are going wrong? And then you add that back to your content. You see it in the DMs and the sales process and the sales calls and the coaching calls. You create a YouTube video specifically for that. You're posting 10 stories a day. Not every single day is it a call to value. Only once or twice a week max are you doing this, and you're following this system, and then you rinse and repeat. Core concepts, build authority, make your core concepts better. You're creating this organic brain of yourself based on your behaviors, how your audience views your behaviors, how they have solved them, and you've created a predictable system. You are no longer competing with the Instagram algorithm. You are working on the same team, because the more you understand the behaviors of your audience, the easier you can make content that speaks to those behaviors, and the more empowered the algorithm is to directly put eyeballs in front of those people. And just from that, with it doesn't matter how many followers you have, you can make $250,000 a month with the coaching business. And then you get to the big leagues and you start to go, every single one of my best videos that I've already paid with time, instead of me paying Meta money to go and take my half-ass shitty creative that I don't even know why it would perform well, even if it does, and putting it in front of a pocket of people that's going to dry out, and then I'm going to have to go and test again just to find another creative and spend more money. I have now spent my time and understanding, and every single day I can create better videos, and now I can just pay Meta to retarget more of these videos to these people. You guys understand that the paid ads system is literally just organic, where you're paying Meta to go do the hard work for you. It only works sometimes if you understand it the right way and if you already have the skill. And when it stops working based on that current trend or that thing that you understand, you have to go rebuild the entire thing, and you're playing a luck game because you don't even know why it did well. Instagram keeps that data, versus you build it and you control the system. That is why I have the leverage that I have, and I am where I am, and you get people commenting on my Instagram that have way more followers than me and a way bigger quote unquote brand than me, when every time I get a new car and they're like, how? because they don't understand, because nobody wants to actually do the work of caring. They just want to hop from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And it is my duty and my mission. You guys will see over the next 10 years what this actually ends up being. But in the most humble way possible, you guys are in a very, very good spot to be seeing this stuff this early. And if you can really, really work to understand this and how it's represented within your brand, you make 6, 7, 8 figures. Some of you guys are more talented than me, literally for the rest of your life through your personal brand. And this is literally just, mind you, one piece of the puzzle, and all it does is continue to make itself better. And every single person that's able to have this one-on-one directly with me, where I can literally tie each of these together. Remember, I was trying to make this broad so that you guys can understand. It becomes really, really good. So I'm going to leave you guys to go think about this, decompress a little bit. We're way over time on the call, but I hope this was valuable, and I hope you guys enjoyed. The call recording is going to be posted. The resource is already there, and the Loom's going to be there. And again, guys, each one of these pieces is going to have like 4 or 5 more hours of Looms breaking this down step by step. So there's a lot of shit that goes into it, but you guys know that every single time I have something like this, I deliver. So I love you guys. Super excited for everything we're continuing to do. And I know I was MIA, but I had so much going on. I was finishing building this, no Wi-Fi, all these things, and I didn't even get to post stories for 3 days, and that like hurt me. But I have a bunch of content. So tomorrow, 5 a.m. wake up, back to posting content. So super excited. Let's go. See you guys next week. Peace.